is fully allocated. Grants of up to $40,000 are available for projects that promote awareness and empowerment. Officials say the funding will help build safer communities and support cultural connections. Application deadlines vary, with some programs accepting submissions until the end of May. A Saskatchewan agriculture project is earning national recognition for its unique approach to education. The Dooley project has won the Community Innovator Award at Canada's Farm Show. The online platform allows users to take virtual tours of farms and learn about how food is produced. It started as a local farm visit experience and has grown into a digital learning tool. The project aims to improve public understanding of agriculture. Organizers say it uses technology in storytelling to make farming more clear and engaging. That's 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sastoday.ca and 620CKRM.com.
And on your precision weather, we're expecting it to stay cloudy tonight, down to an overnight low of -4. Some very light winds out of the east. Good Friday, partly sunny at times, a high of +2, and some light wind out of the east. For Friday night, partly cloudy, a low of -4. Saturday, mix of sun and cloud, a high of +6. For Sunday, partly sunny, up to +1. And for Monday, mostly sunny and a high of -2. Right now in downtown Regina, it is cloudy and +1.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sportscage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Access Communications, trusted in rural Saskatchewan for internet, TV, and home security. Be part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The Sportscage. Streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
And a good Thursday afternoon, Saskatchewan. This is Brendan McGuire filling in for Barney Shinkrook on this edition of the Sports Cage, along with Colson Schultz. Coming up on today's program, the SJHL Report with Benny Walchuk. Lots of series wrapping up in around the SJ, and they're now into the league semifinals. We'll talk to Benny about that. Saskatchewan Roughrider running back AJ Ouellette in conversation. We'll listen to some of that in hour one. Coast to Coast with Arash Madani. We will do our clutch performer. The NASCAR Report, Sharky checks in with that. We will do our Sports Select Sprinkle of the Day and press coverage with Glen Suitor. I have all kinds of wacky, crazy ideas that I like to throw against the wall, and I'm pretty sure none of them will stick, but they're nice to talk about in the off-season on slow news days in the Canadian Football League. You can chime in to call 1-866-767-0620 and the Prairie Land Rentals and Sales text line. You can text at 306-936-6262. Prairie Land Rentals and Sales since 1986. For big or small jobs, stop in and deal with the owner, 600 Albert Street. Snowblowers, skid steers, power sources, moving equipment. All that and more. But right now we're going to go out on the Western Pizza hotline. Very pleased to be joined by a member of the Regina Pats who had an assist in their 4-2 loss in Game 4 to the Medicine Hat Tigers last night. And we'll get him in a moment. But Ephram McNutt is going to join us from the Regina Pats. One of two 20-year-olds on the roster who is finishing up his junior career right now, hoping to keep it go a little bit longer. The Pats now down 3-1. They're off tonight. They're off Friday. Game 5 will be Saturday in Medicine Hat, and then Sunday, if necessary, if the Pats can pull out a victory like they did in Game 2 on the road, they will be at the Brandt Center. So stay tuned for that. If it does get to Game 6, puck drop will be at 6 o'clock at the Brandt Center, so keep your eye on that. I know a lot of people will be listening to the broadcast on Saturday night. Dante DeCaria will be live in Medicine Hat. We'll have the pregame show at 6:30, puck drop at 7 o'clock. Very pleased to be joined by Pats defenseman Ephram McNutt, enjoying a day off after it's been go in this series against Medicine Hat. Ephram, the one theme that I keep hearing, it's not that you guys are getting outclassed in the games where you've come up short against Medicine Hat. It's they're just so good that sometimes it feels like you could work as hard as them, maybe 150% as hard as they do, and you still might lose. Is that the most daunting thing that you have to face going in a series against a team as good as Medicine Hat?
Yeah, for sure. I think that kind of is always the case against such a good program like them. I think being in the lower seed of playoffs, I think that's kind of bound to happen to face a real good program, and it happened to fall on Medicine Hat and their real skill. But yeah, it's definitely tough. I feel like you feel helpless at times. You do everything you can, and you're just not getting paid for it.
We cover a lot of football on this station. We talk a lot about when you face the best teams or a team with the superstar quarterback, you almost feel like you have to play a perfect game and hope that the other side has an off day. Is it quite to that level against Medicine Hat, or is it something similar to that because they are so good and they've been so dominant against everybody throughout the season, last 2 seasons really?
Yeah, I think it's similar. I think regardless of how well they play, we can stick with them. But I think the margin for error is kind of the thing that can bite us. If you give them an inch, they have a foot. So I think that's kind of what we run into. Whether we play great or not, just any little mistake they cash in on, and it feels like if they give us a mistake, we aren't really cashing in right now, and that's kind of been the theme with the scoring drought. So it's been unfortunate, but yeah, we definitely feel a bit of that aspect for sure.
I listened to a good chunk of the broadcast on 620 CKRM to Game 3 back on Tuesday night, and it was an 8-2 game. And the consistent theme that I'm hearing from everybody was it really didn't feel like it was an 8-2 game. Had some bounces go the wrong way, like the one goal that was disallowed because the stick was broken, and a few other things. Is another big part of the challenge to just not panic and not freak out when things don't go your way, when you get a few bad bounces and you fall behind early?
Yeah, it really has to be like that. It's a long series, and I think we don't really have the ability to kind of dwell on our mistakes and stuff like that. And I think that 8-2 game was so unfortunate because we score early and the bench is high, and then it gets disallowed, and then they give us a penalty for whatever it was, using a broken stick. Yeah, illegal stick, whatever that penalty is. So it was kind of like a double slap in the face. We think we're going ahead, and then end up with a penalty. So it's tough, especially when their power play's so good. But I think it's exactly that. We can't really dwell on the issues and kind of just focus on what we can do and have a short mind and let things free.
I know that every 20 years or so, there's a shortage of good quality 20-year-olds, and there seems to be that in the junior circuit this year. Some are saying it's because of what's happened with the NCAA, etc. You had a really solid year as a defenseman, 4th in scoring, team scoring. How much of that burden do you put on yourself and Caden Brown, the other 20-year-old, to lead this group? It's such a young squad.
Yeah, it's I've been asked that question before. It's kind of a tough situation. You don't want to put too much pressure on yourself, but at the same time, you are an older guy, and I think honestly, I'm more worried about off the ice. I can produce on the ice and do things on the ice, but I think more importantly, leading the guys, especially the young guys, because a lot don't have playoff experience. I think it's more important to lead those guys and kind of give them what they need to excel at the playoff level, because no matter what anyone says, it's a different beast at playoffs, and especially against a team like Medicine Hat.
I've long felt like these 2 versus 7 series, and I know the NHL playoff format's a little different now, but the seedings like what you have with Medicine Hat are often ripe for an upset. Because sometimes one team will match up really well against the other. Have you tried to motivate your teammates, or have the coaches tried to motivate you guys by pointing out, listen, this is a real measuring stick. Like, if we can hang with these guys and even get it 6, 7 games, whatever, boy, you've really arrived. This is not beating some 7 or 8 seed in the first round, which nobody's really going to get excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the nice thing is we haven't really actually had to do that because guys can see it on the ice. We've stuck with them, and really every game. That 8-2 was just kind of a weird game, but we stuck with them. We were right there, even in kind of that score. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, there's times when you got to let guys know that we have this and we're right there. But I think really our play's spoken more than anyone can say. We've been there every game, and it's been close. So I think honestly, regardless of the outcome, we've given Medhat a series and stressed them out a bit going forward for sure.
I don't want to overstate this comparison, and maybe I'm going a little overboard, but I think about the story a lot of the Edmonton Oilers dynasty. They met the New York Islanders in the finals, and Wayne Gretzky tells a story all the time how they walked around after, and they were packing up their gear after they just got swept by the Islanders, and the Islanders had just won their 4th straight cup, and they're walking out, and they walked past the Islanders dressing room, and they were fully expecting everybody to be celebrating with champagne and whatnot, and they saw that everybody was hurting, and guys had ice packs on, and he said that moment taught us what it takes to be a champion. Now, I don't want to compare you guys to the Edmonton Oiler dynasty or Medicine Hat to the New York Islander dynasty, but this is a young club that has a long future in front of it. Do you feel like this can kind of be that moment where you see what they're doing, see how hard they work despite everything they've achieved already? That's where we have to get to. That's what we have to be long term.
Absolutely, yeah. That's that is a great comparison. I think for sure it's a real good thing to see. Some of the habits, how hard they work, just that another level. We played Medhat in the regular season, and we've seen their playoff push kind of change. Guys are hitting more. Some of the skill guys are finishing their hits. So it's just again, it's just a different game, and I think it's important, but it's also important for guys to see, how their bodies feel and how tough playoffs are. We can look at other teams and see what they've done, but it's real important for guys to just feel it. Regardless of the seed we were in entering playoffs, it's just a real good experience and kind of seeing how things go, how teams ramp up, and how bad your body feels. Honestly, regardless if you're injured or not, your body's not going to be feeling like it should. So yeah, that's definitely important.
Shots were dead even last night. Did you feel like you met them throughout the game? Did you feel like you matched their effort?
I really did, and it feels weird saying that we even felt like that in a 8-2 game, but I honestly felt like we did. Yeah, shots been fairly even all series, and it's just so tough. Again, like you mentioned a few questions ago, just how hard it is to play our game and be playing well, and then they get a bounce or they get an inch and they get a foot and they score. So yeah, for sure it's been really tough in that regard. And again, I think we're definitely in a bit of a scoring slump, and it's just really unfortunate that's coming in playoffs against Medicine Hat. But that's the beauty of sports.
When you mention the scoring slump, do you feel like that's self-inflicted? Do you feel like you're snake bitten, or is it something Medicine Hat is doing to shut you down?
I think it's a bit of both. We can give them some credit. They're good defensively. Their systems are very good, but at the same time, I think regardless of who we were playing, we'd be a bit snake bitten right now. It's just how it goes. I feel like we haven't gotten some balances, and we've been unable to just find holes in the goalies right now. And honestly, I don't think it's anything we're doing or as much as they're doing. Yeah, they're playing solid, but it is what it is. Sometimes that's how it goes. And again, it's unfortunate it's come at this time, but I think it really just takes a good high scoring game for us, and that'll get us rolling.
Of course, the Tigers, a lot of our listeners know, are coached by Willie Desjardins, who has a great track record from years coaching the Tigers. He's a Saskatchewan guy. He's worked in the NHL. And sometimes when you get those coaches with the great track record, sometimes it doesn't show through in the results, and sometimes you can really tell. How much of their success is, in your mind, because of the guy who's running the organization right now?
Yeah, a lot, honestly. I think Willie's done a great job at setting a great culture there. I know Willie fairly well, and he's a great human being and a great coach. So I think really starting with him and setting culture. They had a real weak season probably about four years ago, and just seeing him able to build it up, and again going back to culture, making sure the room's fun and making sure guys are dialed in. And I think it's a real happy medium, making sure guys are enjoying the game and also being real good teammates and leadership. I mean, their leadership's very good there, and I think it really starts with him. So I think, yeah, it's a lot to do with Willie, a lot of buy-in by the players as well, but Willie's done a great job.
I've seen some guys who they do well in junior as coaches, then they go up to the NHL and they do okay, and then, of course, they get a job back in junior, and I don't know if it's because they think it'll be easy or maybe they've just lost some of their firepower, their fire to do the role, but a lot of them don't do so well. It's clear that has not been the case with Willie Desjardins and the Medicine Hat Tigers. Hey, I wanted to talk a little bit more about your situation. I know you probably try not to think about it too much, but I'm sure it creeps into your mind that this could be it for you. This could be your last weekend. How do you manage that? And or do you feel like it's something you have to push off to the side? And how do you push that off to the side?
Yeah, it's tough. I think, it's one way to look at it for me. I'm in a pretty good position, and I think, regardless of what happens this weekend, I have a lot to look forward to in the future. So I think that's kind of one thing to ease my mind a little bit. At the same time, I've had a lot of fun in the league, and I'm going to miss it, but I don't think I'm in a point where it's going to break my heart leaving the Western Hockey League. I've done my time and understand that it's what's next for me. So yeah, it is tough for sure. It's in the back of your mind a bit. Absolutely. But I think at the same time, I just want to go out and enjoy it and potentially enjoy the last game I have with some of these boys that I've been around for a couple of years now. So yeah, it's tough, but I think kind of putting it aside for now and looking forward to my future has kind of eased my mind.
I've talked to players over the years, and I remember one guy, Saskatchewan guy, who was playing for Tri-City years and years ago, and they had Carey Price. And he said, I know that I'm going to watch Carey Price on TV someday. So I'm going to enjoy being a veteran, trying to give leadership to him, etc. I know you're not thinking too much about that yet. You're thinking about this season. The series is not over. I don't want to make it sound like this. It's a long way from being over. But do you kind of think about that in the back of your mind that, I want to have a big impact on some of these young stars that the Pats have, and one day maybe I'll be in the NHL, they'll be in the NHL too, but we will always have that connection?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I had a pretty good moment with Liam Pugh and Schulte last night. Exactly what you're talking about. Just kind of let them know how proud I am of them and how they've accepted a pretty tough role coming into the league early on this year, and just kind of potential goodbye last night. Maybe that could be the last game I play with them, and I'm just letting them know how special it's been to be a part of their career, and for sure going back to trying to establish them for their future, trying to create some leadership and some culture that hopefully they can carry on to what could be a championship Regina Pats team in a couple years.
That's a great story, but hopefully that's not the end of it. We've seen, what's the saying? We've seen sicker dogs than this one get better, and we've seen lots of teams come back. That's probably a terrible saying. We've seen lots of teams come back from down 3-1, and you guys have been able to fight them pound for pound. So hopefully some of those bounces start going your way in Game 5 on Saturday, because we need more hockey in Regina on Sunday. Ephram, McNutt, fantastic job. Thanks for doing this. Good luck this weekend. Hopefully you're still playing hockey with the Pats by the start of next week.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, that is 20-year-old defenseman Ephram McNutt from the Regina Pats. His squad trailing 3-1 against a pretty good Medicine Hat Tigers club in that 2-7 series. Again, game number 5 will come from Medicine Hat on Saturday night here on 620 CKRM. Dante DeCaria will have the pregame show at 6:30 and puck drop at 7. And remember, the Pats' lone win so far in this series came in that very building. Sometimes getting away, getting out on the road is the best thing that teams can do. We will see if it works out for the Pats. Time to break. A little bit later in hour 1, we will hear from Saskatchewan Roughrider running back AJ Ouellette. You are listening to the Thursday Sportscage for Access Communications on 620 CKRM.
You cut the grass, we'll cut the deal at Brant Agriculture. Get 0% financing for 84 months, plus cash rebates and bonuses on select John Deere turf equipment. Save on compact utility tractors, riding lawnmowers, and utility vehicles. Get it from people who get it. Offer ends April 30th, 2026. Some restrictions may apply. See dealer for details.
Access is connected where it counts, in your community and in your home. And right now, we're making it more affordable for you to stay connected at the acreage, the cabin, or the farm with Access Rural Internet for as low as $69.95 for 24 months. Plus, you can add Access Next TV Stream and keep an eye on things with Access Rural Security. Stay connected, stay local with fast, reliable, homegrown solutions from Access Communications. Visit myaccess.ca to sign up.
He's gaining on us. Quick, let's hide in the garage.
No! It's stuck! Again!
You said you fixed it.
I meant to. I just never called Busy Bee Doors.
Lift it, hurry, lift it.
It won't budge! It's busted!
Don't let a broken garage door turn into a horror story. Call Busy Bee Doors. They can fix or replace any commercial or garage door. Busy Bee Doors, the garage door specialists.
Remember Bill in high school? $2,000 car, $7,000 stereo.
Now he's got a $700,000 drill, $2,000 worth of scrap iron for openers.
Morning. That drill may be fancy, but worn tips can lead to inconsistent depth and potentially lost yield. A fancy drill alone does not equal accurate seating.
Fancy drill, cheap openers. Don't be the new Bill. Talk to Andrew or your local Dutch dealer. Dutch Agriculture, precision where it counts. Visit DutchOpeners.com. Dutch Agriculture, on farm for you.
Getting in on more of the sports action you want is as easy as playing at sportselect.com. Simply make your picks online, generate your QR code, and lock in your bet at your local Lotto Spot retailer. Then sit back, watch the game, grip your chair, and high-five anyone nearby. Every bet is 100% legal with the chance of winning cash in hand. When you're ready to play, bet on the original. Must be 18 plus to play. Play responsibly.
Time now for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League reports with Benny Walchuk on the Sports Cage. The SJHL report is brought to you by Chad Reach, Senior Wealth Advisor, GP Financial Services, and Aviso Wealth. If you need a second opinion on your retirement plan, Chad and his local team are available for a no-obligation meeting.
And we are joined by the great Benny Walchuk of Yorkton Terrier, Melville Millionaire, and Swan Valley Stampeder. Mm-hmm. Did I get that right? Broadcast fame? The Stampeders.
You did, yeah.
One thing we got to do, we don't have a lot of time to do this SJHL report, but one thing we have to get out of the way early. Colson says you're a Canuck fan. Is that true?
That is true, yeah.
I'm usually in the minority with that because I'm a diehard Canuck fan, but I kind of like it to be my own. I don't like sharing it with too many people, but I'll share it with you, Benny, and I'm glad that you see the light, and we're having a miserable year, so we may as well talk more SJHL because there's nothing to get excited about with the Canucks.
You guys did have your Stanley Cup. You beat the Avalanche.
Yeah, we did. Big win last night.
That's true, yeah, and that was our sprinkle of the day. We'll get to that in a moment. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but whatever. So my Bruins bowed out early in the playoffs, and I think we all kind of expected that. Lots happening, especially with the your Yorkton Terriers team that you've been broadcasting.
Yeah, it was a great Highway 10 battle. First off, hats off to each community. Like, they came out in groves. Like, there was 18, I think they averaged just over 1,500 people per game. 50-50 at one point in Malville was $32,000 total, so $16,000 went to the winner. It was just a great turnout. I think total attendance in the SJHL was 23,000. I think I determined, and about 10,000 of that or 11,000 came from that series between Yorkton and Malville. So it was incredible. It was you know what? It's a series that could win either way. Like, Malville probably should have won Game 3 to go up 2-1, and then they won Game 4 to tie things up. So they could have been up 3-1 easily. So, but the pesky Yorkton Terrier team that has lots of offense was able to battle adversity once again, and they proved that they have the top 3 scorers in the SJHL during the regular season, and just some veteran guy, like depth guys like Gavin Barth has stepped up. So the depth came to play in that series. But yeah, hats off to the Yorkton Terriers and Melville Millionaires. Just a great Highway 10 battle.
The big thrill over Melville for Yorkton. So they move on to round 2. And were you surprised at all what happened with Flin Flon Estevan?
Not really. I thought like Estevan could have snuck out that game too. Like, it went to overtime. Anything could happen. Like, I thought Estevan might be able to sneak one out. Maybe logistically and financially wise, they're probably pretty happy they maybe didn't sneak it out going back to Flin Flon for game number 5. But nonetheless, hats off to Estevan. Drew Crocher did a great job. Great players. Ewan Rennie had a great year, MVP and Player of the Year. Rylan Williams, like, good resurgence. So hats off to them. But that Flin Flon team is just so good at home ice when they you kind of give them any kind of situation, they're able to overcome it right now. And now they have another test here with the Weyburn Red Wings, a team that they bowed out to last year in the SJHL semifinals. A little bit of a rematch between those two teams.
Yeah, what do you make of this series, Weyburn and Flin Flon in the next round?
I think it's going to come down to goaltending. It's Joey Roca had a great maybe last half of that series against Nipawin for Weyburn, and then Charlie Tritt's been good since being acquired from Humboldt at the trade deadline. So it's going to come down to goaltending, special teams wise, and biggest thing is Weyburn going to be able to win at the Whitney Forum, which is they're the only team that's been able to do that all season long in that overtime game. So it's going to be a situation where see if Weyburn can sneak one out there in Flin Flon the opening 2 games here this weekend. I wouldn't put it past the Weyburn Red Wings to win this series, maybe even shorter fashion, because they're pretty good at home ice. So it's a Weyburn team that's not that flashy, but they come at you in groves. And you talked about Joey Roca, who started with the Swift Current Broncos this year. If he can carry the mail, who knows what can happen.
Forgive my arrogance for a moment, but is Cody Mapes still running the Weyburn Red Wings?
He is, yeah.
He is. So, I had a long chat with Mike Reagan, the coach GM in Flin Flon, right around that. I was asking how we were kind of assessing teams around the league a little bit. I don't even think we were on air. And he said since Cody's taken over, he's really got things shored up. So you can tell there's a massive amount of respect from Flin Flon's coach toward the people running the Weyburn Red Wings. The other series that you're going to be broadcasting, the Terriers and the Battleford North Stars. Size that one up for us.
Buckle up. It's two very offensively, maybe awareness teams. That these two teams like to go offensively. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe a 2-1 game, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see like a 7-6 game. Who knows in the playoffs? It's a two teams that are very good offensively, very good power plays, and a lot of high end talent. It's gonna be top line versus top line with Campbell, Klippenstein, and Knidig for Battlefords, and then Zawatsky, Korshane, and Leonard for Yorkton. So it's going to come down to who's better defensively in their own zone at the right time. And like I said, goaltending, Callum Craig is going to go up against a duo of Spencer Micknick and Caden Serpa, who've been kind of splitting duties there with Battleford. So I think it's going to be a series that's going to play a lot of goals being scored, and who's going to be able to keep it out of the net the most is going to be the ones going to be successful.
Boy, that sure sounds like a Yorkton Terrier head coach history role with names like Klippenstein and Zawatsky.
Yeah.
That's kind of how hockey should be, isn't it? Like the high scoring. I mean, just because it's the playoffs or even during the regular season, okay, 2-1 games can be exciting, but teams should be okay to win 7-6 once in a while too, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Like it gets hair. It rips the hair out of some coaches' head right now with the stress and stuff. But you seen that game between Calgary and Brandon that went 1-0 to triple overtime. Yeah, there was excitement, but there wasn't much action in that game in the dub. So yeah, I liked a lot of goals. It tests your voice as a broadcaster for sure to call all those goals, but it's always exciting. So it should be great and nice to see the Westland Insurance Arena. Packed house once again here coming up on Friday nights, and both all barns in the SJHL should be packed here in the next couple weeks. Should be exciting.
Sounds to me like there really isn't a clear-cut favorite at this point, unless I'm misreading. I mean, Flin Flon maybe, but like you said, Weyburn seems to match up well with them even.
Yeah, you can give Flin Flon the edge right now. Like, it's all about health right now. Like, no team is going to say this guy's banged up, but there's guys playing injured. Like, you can tell. Look at the rosters or the depth charts that some guys are a little bit more injured than most. Like, oh, this guy's not playing this night. This guy's not playing that night. This guy's not going to play this night, but he'll play tomorrow. So you can tell who's a little bit more banged up, but it's going to be who's going to be able to ride it out. This SJHL playoffs is a grind. Whoever one of these teams that wins is going to have to play the May long weekend for the Centennial Cup if they make it all the way to the final. So it's a grind. These guys have been going since the end of August, and it's going to be the war of attrition here. The rest are here for broadcasters, for trainers, for coaches, for players here. The last month here as the weather gets a little bit nicer.
In the 24 years that I've had the good fortune of broadcasting different things, events, I don't know that I ever had more fun than I did doing SJ playoffs. Sounds like it's going to be another fun ride for the next month or two. Benny Walchuk, thanks so much for doing the SJHL report, and enjoy calling the playoff hockey this weekend. Thanks, Brendan. Thanks, Golson, and happy Easter, everybody. Happy Easter to you, too. That is Benny Walchuk with the SJHL report for Chad Reach Financial and there should be some really good games this weekend, and I'm really excited what he said about that Yorkton Battleford series. I mean, listen, there used to be so much more fighting in hockey, and I don't miss that. I think we need to get away from that. But if we're going to get away from that, we have to replace the excitement it brought somehow. And I think a series like Yorkton Battleford could maybe do that with all the high scoring and the different twists and turns. But it really feels like there isn't a clear-cut favorite, and it should be great. Should come right down to the wire. We'll be back with more of the Thursday Sports Cage for Access Communications on sportscage.com.
Did you know over 1.3 million homeowners call on Reliance for their water heater needs? With over 150,000 five-star online reviews and over 60 years experience, you could say Reliance Heath are water heater experts. Switch to Reliance Heath today. They'll give you $200 for all your hot water needs.
Call on Reliance.
Visit waterheaterrentals.com for details. Terms and conditions apply.
Sask Lotteries has over 50 years of winning behind us. And you know what that means? Lots of winning numbers. Numbers like over 1,200 organizations funded and 12,000 plus groups supported. $6 million given away annually in community grants. And the winningest number of all? $1.4 billion given back to the people of Saskatchewan through sport, culture, and recreation. And we're just getting started. Learn more at sasklotteries.ca.
You cut the grass, we'll cut the deal at Brent Agriculture. Get 0% financing for 84 months, plus cash rebates and bonuses on select John Deere turf equipment. Save on compact utility tractors, riding lawnmowers, and utility vehicles. Get it from people who get it. Offer ends April 30th, 2026. Some restrictions may apply. See dealer for details.
If you've got a Steelcraft garage door, you've got a door with parts manufactured and assembled right here in Canada. A door with better insulation and seal, plus a warranty you're probably never going to use. And if you don't have a Steelcraft garage door, you should get one. Don't just hang a door, install a Steelcraft. Turn curb appeal into curb envy.
Steelcraft door, Steelcraft door, Steelcraft door. We offer more.
Steel-craft.ca.
Text CKRM 306-936-6262. Powered by Prairie Land Rentals. From power tools to skid steers, they probably have what you need for your job. 600 Albert Street, where you deal with the owner. Welcome back to Sports Cage. Connect with the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262.
This is the Thursday Sports Cage for Access Communications. And by the way, no Friday show. We observe the Good Friday holiday here at sportscage.com. And Fridays, Sports Cages, always for Nelson Homes, supplying home packages and RTMs for over 65 years. A little bit earlier, there was a conversation between the Rider pregame show host Justin Dunk and Saskatchewan Roughrider running back AJ Ouellette as those two caught up. Let's listen in right now.
Saskatchewan Roughriders star running back AJ Ouellette. What's it been like to be a Grey Cup champion? Yes, it's for the second time, but a Grey Cup champion with the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
I mean, yeah, you can say it's the second time, but it's first time with the Riders and the passion that comes with that fan base. I'm still getting random messages in my social media account saying thank you. You don't know what this means to the province and all that stuff. But it's just it's a good feeling knowing that like your hard work is recognized and enjoyed.
Could you have imagined what it was going to be like winning a Grey Cup in Saskatchewan, the parade, all of the tours around the province, the outpouring from the fans, like you said, that are still in your DMs?
Yeah. It's more than I imagined. Playing in Toronto, I had a teammate, Declan Crofts, who said, if you ever have the opportunity to play in Sask, you should do it because it is the most professional feeling you'll ever have as like a professional athlete. And then when I signed with Sask and I realized they only had 4 Grey Cups at the time and how passionate they were, I'm like, they deserve a lot more than this. And we got one, and hopefully many more.
You win that Grey Cup. What was the time like after that? You know, that night celebrating and, you know, perhaps all the way up to today.
Yeah. I hate to say it. I loved the celebration. I loved how long they're enjoying it. I mean, fans are still enjoying the celebration, but it felt like 24 hours of enjoying the win and hanging out with the guys. And then I felt like every event afterwards was like a forced smile of, yeah, we're champions. But like in my head, it was like, all right, who am I playing next? Like there should be a game coming up. All season, regular season playoffs, it's okay, you won, fix your mistakes, on to the next opponent, and you just go step by step, and you get so lost in that process. After the Grey Cup, you're like, all right, we won, cool. All right, what mistakes did I make? How do I fix it? Who do I play next? And you get to that who do I play next part, and you're, I don't know. I guess I won't know until they come out with the the calendar or the schedule in December. So preseason, and after that, BC.
Indeed. I heard that you and Trevor Harris were back in the gym around 48 hours after you won the Grey Cup. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we were just trying to figure out what to do. And every time we were out in public, fans are going crazy, right? You just won the Grey Cup. And it was us trying to get away from that. And like I said, like you saw your mistakes, what to fix. Now I got to get my body ready for the next game. And then we drove like a week after that home. And we still were just like, it's not real. Like it felt like we were driving up here last month for the training camp. Like there should be a game this week. And there wasn't. So ending it as a champion and a win, it just felt like there was more that we needed to chase. And glad he's back so we can chase some more.
You're both back, and there was a whole bunch of pending free agents. The Riders had a CFL high in that category. You essentially negotiated your own contract with the Riders to come back. What was that process like to go through as a Grey Cup champion?
You know what I don't want to say what you're worth, but you know what you can bring to a team when it comes to your knowledge of the game, your leadership. They can count on you no matter what the level of the game is. So you're asking for a certain amount, and then you're like, shoot, that means we can't bring everybody back if I get that much. And then it is a business, so you get your first contract offer in, and it is nowhere near what you're thinking that you're going to sign for. And then it was just, all right, I enjoy Sask to where I want to be next year. Love the coaching staff, love the locker room. So then I started reaching out to companies all over Sask, just being like, hey, if I do like a commercial for you, can we work out a deal or something like that? So I got a meat company that I'm gonna do a billboard for and get some food for.
Which company?
Yeah, it's been too quick, but the owner's name is Bryce. It's in Moose Jaw. I'm trying to think of
It'll come to you.
Yeah. But then you got the Mad Greek. He's also in Moose Jaw, owns a restaurant there. So if you're ever in Moose Jaw, stop at the Mad Greek and get some pizza or dry rib or whatever. Great. And then Regina Heating and Plumbing. Great guys. My type of guys that I like to hang out with outside of football. So shooting commercials for them, and just wanted to make sure I had enough to make sure my family was good, and then the support that the community showed, especially when I wasn't signing and they were like yelling at me in the DMs. They wanted me back, so I'm like, all right, that's where I should be.
They were just excited.
Yeah.
How much does the added benefit of playing in Saskatchewan, where those commercials like you talked about or deals are actually possible? Yes, you want to be compensated fairly as a football player, but there's added, I guess, money to be made.
Yeah. And you got to learn how to sell yourself. Like, I am a humble person that does not like to talk about myself too much, but in a community like that, they want to help, and they want to help the riders. So any way that they can. And it was huge. I just had this mention it and bring it up to just a couple people, and they started reaching out to companies for sponsorships and deals and vehicles to rent for the year and all that. So yeah, to make life a little bit easier for the next free agents, I'd try Sask.
You would know very well firsthand. You went out there to officially sign your contract, and then you're busy. Man, you had the Grey Cup, and you actually took it to a country concert up in Saskatoon, correct?
Yeah. So I had tickets. Somehow, friends of mine knew the backstage manager of Hardy, and got us basically floor tickets, and we took the Grey Cup there. And Cameron Whitcomb heard, him being a Canadian, heard about the Grey Cup being in there, so he comes running into the locker room taking pictures with the Grey Cup, holding it above his head. I was lucky enough to have extra jerseys because I was not missing this opportunity, because I went to Shania Twain and there was another concert. I was like, I forgot a jersey. It would have been my pass to get back there. So brought jerseys, gave it to Cameron. He wore it on stage to open his show. And then he said, would you want to bring the Grey Cup on stage? And I'm like, these fans will go crazy in Saskatoon if we bring the Grey Cup out here. And he said, bring it on stage. It's actually crazy how they script the whole, what songs are going to go through. And they're like, as soon as I start this song, you bring it out. I'm like, all right, running up on stage, bringing it out. And then he stops and shows it off. And yeah, it was a cool experience.
What did that make you feel inside? Bringing the Grey Cup on stage in Saskatoon, packed house. I would imagine your vibes were amazing.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. They always talk about being a football player and playing in front of that many people, and I don't notice the fans once the game starts. Right, you can hear loud noises and all that, and have to focus on listening to a play call or something. But you don't notice the fans. When I was carrying that up and the lights were hitting the stage and I could just see a packed house, I was like, whoa, this is what a rock star feels like. All right, cool.
That's what a country star feels like.
Yeah.
That's right up your alley.
And it was awesome. It was an experience I will not forget, that's for sure.
You have been busy in so many ways in the off season. There's no insane transformation, let's call it. Are you sticking to essentially what worked for you last off season to carry you through the entire 2025 regular season, have the most productive season along with the Grey Cup in your career?
Yeah. So, I didn't cut that 20 something pounds. I dropped a little bit just to make sure I was feeling good, training well. I had a machine that Trevor let me borrow that he uses, that uses direct current to stimulate muscles in different ways for workouts or recovery, all that. And I used it last year and I felt really good. So I bought one and I've been doing workouts with him on it. So all we do is basically Zoom every 3 days. And him and Jake Cousins is the guy that gives us the workouts. And he tells us where to put the pads, what kind of exercises to do. And I don't know if you saw me walking around today, but I'm a little sore because 2 days ago we had leg day with Trevor Harris. I didn't think a quarterback could, work out this hard. But, I had this machine hooked up to me. And the best part is you control it yourself. So you're trying to outdo the next person to see if you can get a higher number than them when you're training. And every time I am sore after. So luckily this is the last week of crazy intense workouts on the machine. We're going to dial it back, get ready for training camp.
Who gets the higher number?
He's been using the machine longer, so it's easier for him to get to the high numbers, but I think my pain tolerance is higher, so I can just fight through it. But yeah, him and Jake, like I said, they are at 100 on the machine pretty quick, and I'm shaking, trying to get past 50 to get to 100. So
you'll get there eventually.
Yeah,
I'd imagine, probably pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You also became a father. You and your partner welcomed a daughter into the world. Give us her name and how did all of that go for everybody?
Yeah, it was good. Me and Caitlin, we welcomed Isla Joe into the world on March 6th. And it was, I was expecting, the worst when it comes to having a baby and sleeping, and she's been awesome. like obviously I'm getting up at night and I'm doing all that stuff, but Caitlin's been a superwoman, like doing more than probably what she is cleared to do. And then Isla's a champ. I think she knows, but I'm gonna let her know she's pretty dang good, easy baby to handle. It's been good. It's been extra motivation for me. Watching Caitlin, handle her and the way that she's, transformed into a mother. I no longer play this game because I, just love playing it. Obviously, I still love playing it, but now I'm playing it to make sure I have a paycheck for those two. And fatherhood's it's been awesome. Guys are making fun of me because I'm doing ballerina twirls and gymnastic spins and all this stuff in the living room trying to put her to sleep. I'm like, you know what? I got a daughter. I'm going to have to get used to this.
Girl dad.
Yep.
Does becoming a father potentially add another level to AJ Ouellette on the field?
Yeah. I mean, I think that dad strength, I'm waiting for it to kick in, right? As long as I don't get the low back pain, it'll be good. But yeah, just more passion. I get to play for one more person. Just adding another, person to my circle is just an extra level of commitment I have.
Did becoming a dad mellow you out at all or change you mentally in any way?
Definitely. I don't want to say calm me down, but everybody was so glad when I announced that I was having a girl. Like coaches were like, good, you need to chill. You did not be so psycho. But yeah, it brings it all around to, my childhood and what I want to give her and make sure I have the opportunity to give her what she, needs and deserves.
Indeed. And I think you're going to do that and more if you attack it the same way that you've attacked, especially your professional football career and just knowing your character. She's going to be a great young woman when she grows up. How has that changed your plans for the season in terms of where Isla will be, your partner Caitlin, as you mentioned, and just the added dimension now that you have a dependent in a child?
Yeah. My camping days are over. There's no more camper. So I was lucky enough to find a nice spot, nice house on the south side of the city in Regina that we'll be renting just to have more space. Right? 2 dogs. We're going to have a cat there. We're going to have a baby. So we need some room, fenced in backyard. So I kind of just feel like a full family now and like a dad. I'm not camping, playing football.
Living at Trevor Harris's house sometimes too.
Yeah. Right. But they're all going to fly out the end of May at the end of training camp. And, just take in this first season as a family.
Caitlin's from Etobicoke, is that correct?
Yep.
Did you meet her while you were with Toronto?
Yeah. So I had a event where her company donated for a flag football thing. So they donated to the Argos. Their company got to come out and play a flag football tournament with all the other companies. And her company was a gym. So obviously me owning a gym, I gravitated towards them. I talked to everyone associated with the gym and started talking to her. She came, they got tickets to the game the next week. Talked to her there. She lived in the east side of the city at that time. I lived in Milton, which is not easy to get to when you have to go through the city.
That is hard to do.
So
with all the traffic.
Yeah. We went out and got ice cream once, just to hang out and get to know each other a little bit more. And then a couple months later, I signed with Sask, and we thought that was the end. And she hit me up saying that she was stopping in Sask for a wedding. She was taking a trip with friends, and we went to dinner and started talking again, and slowly brought it up. I said, hey, you should probably move to Sask if we want to try to make this work, and she jumped on it. She's a ride or die for sure.
Now Isla's in the world with you.
Yep.
with you both, I should say. When you look at everything you got going on, and we should focus on this for a second, you're running a gym essentially while you're doing this. How do you keep that organized?
Yeah, it's a lot of, trying to plan everything out. As soon as the season's out, you try to get the full year scheduled for the gym, and make sure that the coaches there know what they're doing, what to expect. And luckily, Brandon Weirg and Alex Trotter are the co-owners of the gym. They were hired on basically right when we opened up, and they've been with me since day one. And I felt like they deserved a part of that gym, because it wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. Like, I'm up here playing a game that I love, and they're keeping this gym alive and growing it during the season. So they're part owners now of the gym, and we get a game plan set for the off season and for when I leave, and everybody sticks to it. And we do a lot of mental health checks, as guys do, in different varieties, to make sure everybody's good, because I have them running the gym. We're all part of a nonprofit that we have. So No Name Athletics is the gym, and then Make a Name Foundation is the nonprofit we're starting. And starting a foundation has been a lot of eye-opening stuff for us, because we've missed a lot of paperwork. But I want to make sure I'm not putting too much on their plate, because they both have 2 kids. Alex has twins, and Brandon has Peyton will be 3 in July, and a 4-month-old. So yeah,
lots going on.
They are busy, and I want to make sure that they're spending more time with the family than they are in an office working on stuff, mainly that I give them. So make sure everybody's good that way.
You got a lot going on. It sounds like you're setting yourself up well for after football. Trevor Harris gets this question all the time now. He's going to be 40 going into 2026. How many more years does AJ Ouellette want to play?
Man, he's 40, so I gotta go 10 more years to be. No, man, I'm gonna play.
With the way you take care of your body, you can do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna play until that passion leaves. So right now, I don't see a near end. But you never know. Every year's different, right? So I'm taking this. I know I wanted a couple years on the contract, but I'll take at least 1 more year playing football. So taking it year by year, I guess.
In an ideal world, would you like to finish your career in Saskatchewan, however long it is?
I mean, the big dream would be a 3-peat, winning it in Regina, because it's in Sask, and next year. And then I'm retiring. You win 3 in Sask. I think I have to retire. And, let the fans do what they do, and let the community, put every statue of Trevor and Coach Mace around the city.
You were trying to talk Trevor Harris into signing a multi-year deal, right? For at least 2027. Yeah. So seems possible you could stay together that long.
Yeah, I think so. With how he's looking this year, he's gained weight and more muscle, and dude looks jacked, and I'm kind of worried that I'm going to be the small guy in the backfield now.
He said he's more mobile too, although he'd rather let you run the ball.
Yeah. I said in an interview, I'm looking forward to people not expecting his transformation, because he's going to be hitting the A-gap pretty hard this year, running linebackers over, jumping over safeties. So my job's no longer sitting back there making sure nobody touches Trevor.
He'll be tackling you post-game.
Yeah.
When you look at 2026 from a mindset perspective, are the Riders defending, or are they just focused on winning the Grey Cup this year?
Man, we're trying to be the best team that we can be this year. People can attack us if they want. They can put a target on our back, but we're approaching it as beating the next opponent that lines up across from you. Like I said, after the Grey Cup, I felt like there should have been an opponent lining up across from us the following week, but there wasn't. So I think we're going to bring that same mentality into to this year, and it's just line it up.
There was a video that I remember of you when you signed with the team initially, where you walked out into that stadium, and I think you talked about it afterwards. what you felt to be there as a rider. What do you think it's going to be like in week 2, which is the Riders' regular season opener? BC's there to unveil a banner to those same fans in that same stadium where you walked into and felt what football meant in that province.
Yeah, I remember walking into the stadium and seeing the empty slot where a Grey Cup banner should be going, and I was like, I want to be a part of that, and to do that, and this fan base is going to go crazy, especially playing BC, which was our opponent in the West Final, who's got a great team this year as well. So it's going to be 2 great teams going at it. And that's another challenge I have for the fans, is to show up with more energy this year. Just be crazy, sell out every game you can. And we're taking a step up, so we need you to take a step up.
Let's see if the Riders can make history this version and go back to back. AJ, it's been great to catch up with you. Look forward to doing it through the season, at training camp, and beyond. All the best.
Yes. Always great talking to you.
All right, that was AJ Ouellette in conversation a little bit earlier, and boy, I don't want to say he's looking ahead, but sure sounded to me like he's looking ahead. They're thinking about 2027 when Saskatchewan hosts the Grey Cup. June 13th will be the opening night game they were talking about when the BC Lions come to town, and the Roughriders will unveil their 2025 Grey Cup Championship banner. We'll be back with more of Hour 2 of the Sports Cage here on 620 CKRM.
The Country Music Rewind with Colin Lovequist.
Get ready and kick back as we head back to 1999, a time when 90s country was at its absolute peak. From Kenny Chesney to the Chicks dominating the crossover charts, it's a show full of timeless storytelling and steel guitars.
The Country Music Rewind with Colin Lovequist. Brought to you by Crawford's No Frills. Saturday afternoons at 4 and Sunday afternoons at 1 on Country's Greatest Hits. 620 CKRM.
The auction calendar is stacked at Ritchie Brothers, and an exciting Regina auction is happening May 28th. Visit their website or Regina location to view a wide variety of used heavy equipment from top brand manufacturers. You won't want to miss this great opportunity. Head to rbauction.com/Regina to sign up and be ready for the auction. Again, that's rbauction.com/Regina.
Access is connected where it counts, in your community and in your home. And right now, we're making it more affordable for you to stay connected at the acreage, the cabin, or the farm. With Access Rural Internet for as low as $69.95 for 24 months. Plus, you can add Access Next TV Stream. And keep an eye on things with Access Rural Security. Stay connected, stay local. With fast, reliable, homegrown solutions from Access Communications. Visit myaccess.ca to sign up.
You cut the grass, we'll cut the deal at Brent Agriculture. Get 0% financing for 84 months, plus cash rebates and bonuses on select John Deere turf equipment. Save on compact utility tractors, riding lawnmowers, and utility vehicles. Get it from people who get it. Offer ends April 30th, 2026. Some restrictions may apply. See dealer for details.
It's time for the Sports Ticker. Brought to you by Reliance Heath Water Heater Rentals. Rent a water heater and water softener starting at about $1.20 a day and get $400 when you switch to Reliance Heath.
Well, the WHL playoffs continue tonight. Quiet locally, but the Brandon Wheat Kings are home to the Calgary Hitmen. Calgary can finish them off in game number 4. They can complete the sweep. Junior B circuit, Prairie Junior Hockey League final. The Regina Capitals are in Saskatoon to play the Wesleys in Game 4. That's a 7:45 puck drop. Saskatoon leads at best of 7, 2-1. At the TELUS Cup Western Regionals, the Winnipeg Bruins visit the Moose Jaw Warriors. That is a 4:30 start. What kind of name is that for a Winnipeg team? Winnipeg Bruins? Thunder Bay Kings will play the Regina Pat Canadians. They will be on the ice at 7:30 tonight. World Men's Curling Championship. Canada is on the ice at 7 o'clock versus Norway. I was watching the highlights a little bit earlier of Matt Dunstone's team pummeling Germany. And in the National Hockey League, a few Canadian teams in action. The Ottawa Senators are home to Buffalo. The Montreal Canadiens visit the New York Rangers. The Winnipeg Jets are in Dallas to play the Stars. Can you believe the Jets might make the playoffs after all? The Vancouver Canucks are visiting the Minnesota Wild. That'll be a rematch of Quinn Hughes and his former team. And the Edmonton Oilers home to the Chicago Blackhawks. Calgary Flames are in Vegas. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are in San Jose. Look at that. All 7 Canadian teams in action on this Thursday night. The sports ticker for Reliance Heath Water Heater Rentals, keeping you in hot and soft water. Call on Reliance.
We are 620 CKRM Regina, a Harvard media station.
It's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Tanner Wallace-Scribner from the SaskToday.ca newsroom with 620 CKRM News for Bronco Plumbing and Heating, where professional service is guaranteed. They'll treat you right. 781-2090. Regina City Council recorded no violations on its Code of Ethics in 2025, according to the city's Integrity Commissioner. The annual report presented at Executive Committee shows 21 complaints were received over the year. Of those, 20 were informal inquiries, mostly from members of the public seeking information or raising concerns about city services. Only one formal complaint was investigated, and the Commissioner found no breach of Code of Ethics. The report notes many inquiries were not related to councillor conduct, but rather confusion about where to direct service complaints. The city first introduced the Code of Ethics bylaw in 2017, with an Integrity Commissioner appointed the following year. Previous councils recorded 4 violations in 2022 and 2023. An 18-year-old man charged in connection with a fatal rollover in Regina is set to return to court later this month. Connor Douglas faces charges including impaired driving causing death, dangerous driving causing death, and driving while over .08. His next court appearance is set for April 15th in Regina Provincial Court. The charges stem from a July 31st, 2025 crash at 6th Avenue North and Smith Street. Police say a single vehicle struck a power pole and rolled shortly after 5:30 a.m. A 13-year-old passenger was pronounced dead at the scene. Douglas last appeared in court on March 12th. Saskatchewan's new $10 a day childcare agreement took effect April 1st, but the rollout is drawing criticism from the official opposition. NDP Carlo Beck says some families are now facing sharply higher fees because their children turned 6 before the deadline and are no longer eligible. The opposition says increases range from $200 to $900 a month, with some bills more than doubling. Education Minister Everett Hindley says the new agreement expands coverage to children who turn 6 in kindergarten going forward, but it's not retroactive. He says any further expansion would require additional federal funding. The Saskatchewan government is inviting groups to apply for 3 funding programs aimed at supporting Indigenous communities. The programs include partnership projects, sponsorships, and the MMIWG Plus Community Response Fund. Officials say the funding will support safety, awareness, and community development. The MMIWG Plus Fund will now accept applications until all the money is used instead of set deadlines. Grants of up to $40,000 are available for eligible projects. The province says the programs are designed to build stronger, safer, and more connected communities across Saskatchewan. That's 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sasktoday.ca and 620ckrm.com.
And your precision weather brought to you by Next Gen Coatings. Spray coatings for truck beds, liners, rocker panels, and more. Same company, new name, 1865 McCarra Street, Regina. We're expecting it to stay cloudy tonight, down to an overnight low of -4. Some very light winds out of the east. Good Friday, partly sunny at times, a high of +2, and some light wind out of the east. For Friday night, partly cloudy, a low of -4. Saturday, mix of sun and cloud, a high of +6. For Sunday, partly sunny, up to +1. And for Monday, mostly sunny, and a high of -2. Right now in downtown Regina, it is cloudy and +1.
For over 40 years, you've known them as Regina's trusted vehicle protection specialists. Now they're introducing the next gen of coatings. New name, new level of protection. They're now next gen coatings. 3 generations of their family have served your family, and that hasn't changed. Same owners, same commitment, ready for the next gen of truck beds, rocker panels, trailers, bumpers, and running boards. The company hasn't changed, just the name. Next Gen Coatings, 1865 McCarra Street. The next gen starts now.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sports Cage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Access Communications, trusted in rural Saskatchewan for internet, TV, and home security. Be part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The Sports Cage. Streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Brendan McGuire doing all the talking, Colson Schultz doing all the work on this Thursday edition of the Sports Cage. Yeah, get the shot of that sweet, sweet Montreal Expos retro jacket. Very Pedro Martinez, or I should say Felipe Alou-esque. Right away, Arash Madani is going to join us, and all guests appear on the Western Pizza guest hotline. It's a pizza that's known worldwide for a reason, loaded with toppings of Western Canadian ingredients and always cooked to perfection. Arash had promised that he would indulge me a little bit. See, especially in the off season, I like to do this year round, where I come up with all these really weird crackpot ideas and throw them against the wall and see if any of them stick, and I fully expect pretty well none of them will. And I've got one for Arash, and then I'll throw another one at Suitor in hour 3 when we get him on the line. And both of them relate to the Canadian Football League. So lots of CFL talk on this edition of the program, and we've been talking a little bit of hockey as well. The Regina Pats in their best of 7 with the Medicine Hat Tigers trailing 3-1 and really facing an uphill battle. It's almost like I was going to use the Brad Pitt line from Moneyball, where he said there's these teams and there's 50 feet of crap, and then everyone. It's not quite that accurate. So, the 2 best teams in the conference, you've got Prince Albert at the top, you've got Medicine Hat a close second, then you've got miles, I think, between those 2 and everybody else. So if the Pats were able to pull an upset, or even if they are able to win on Saturday and force a Game 6, that would be a pretty big deal. And so I don't know if we're going to see hockey next week or not. The odds are not looking good. The Pats would have to win Game 5 in Medicine Hat on Saturday, and then they'd have to do it again Sunday. It goes back-to-back, 7 o'clock Saturday night in the Hat, and then 6 o'clock at the Brandt Center here in Regina on Sunday, if it gets that far. Let's go to Arash.
It's time to go coast to coast with Arash Madani for Smart Investing Solutions. Be smart with your money. Call Brian Gawley at Smart Investing Solutions, 546-2533.
And Arash Madani checks in from the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario. And we've talked before we get to my crackpot ideas a little bit later, we've talked a lot on this show about how the Vegas Golden Knights are just fine making coaching changes. They're not worried about trying to buck the trend of a coach only having a 2 or 3 year shelf life. They're now on to number 4, and Torts is back. This is John Tortorella's, I'm counting, I think, 5th team now. I could be wrong on that, to replace Bruce Cassidy. Do you think that this is going to work for the Golden Knights? Do you see this actually helping them at this stage of the game?
Well, I think it wasn't working. So they're not in a rebuild. They're not in a retool. They're not in a wait till next year. They're a couple of years removed from winning the Stanley Cup, and this is their window. This is their now. Because, Brendan, it wasn't, you need to bring the jolt out, the shock out, change something. Because when you go sign the contracts that you sign, when you have the vets that you have, when you go and make the move for Marner like you did, you're saying this has got to happen, and this has got to happen now. And so, you're in a scenario where Cassidy's shelf life had come to an end. He's probably done at the end of the season anyway. I thought it was Kelly McCrimmon, their GM. He went on, I think it was Overdrive the other day, and he just said, listen, when as a coach you're pushing guys and pushing guys and pushing guys and pushing guys, it works for a while, and then the message just doesn't anymore. And so when you're at that point, can this turn things? That becomes the question. They didn't go bring up, call up the AHL coach. They went and got a hard ass who, who's not going to take any BS, who's been through this before, who's won a cup before. And if there's anybody they may respond to, it's going to be Tortorella.
Yeah, and so far that's been true to form for the Golden Knights. When I think about it, their first coach was Gerard Gallant. He had lots of prior experience. And then after that, they went to Pete DeBoer. This was not his first rodeo. And then Cassidy, he's coached on and on. They haven't hired a first-timer yet. I guess they've just decided that they're an organization that is kind of like the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Montreal Canadiens, that this is not a job for entry-level NHL head coaches.
Well, you think about how the franchise was born and the expansion draft and the way George McPhee approached it. They were contenders right away. They were contenders out of the gate. There was no walk before you run. There was no infancy to any of this. They were a contender from the jump. So it's kind of been gas, full throttle, no brakes from the beginning with this franchise. And then you look around the roster, there isn't a ton of youth. So it's, all right, let's win now. Let's do this. Let's give it a shot. We'll deal with the offseason when the offseason rolls around. But there's a window still for us to turn this. Let's see if we can.
What kind of a message does a move like this send to the players? Exactly what you just said, or does it go deeper than that?
I think both. Yeah, and it's, okay, guys, well, now it's on us. Now it has to be on us. You're about to find out if these guys actually care. You're about to find out if they're actually in on the season or if they're just ready for Cancun in their golf clubs. Because, look, especially when things drag, especially in a compressed season, especially after the losing streak that they were on, it's easy to fold up the tent. But now kind of all of a sudden, okay, well, we just got a colleague of ours fired. Maybe it's time to look in the mirror and be accountable. We're about to find out a little bit about the DNA of some of these dudes.
We see this happen all the time, and it seems to happen, I think, just about more, you'd know better than anybody, more in the NHL than any other league, where teams get into a slump and they say, okay, nobody's listening anymore, and they move on to the next guy. And I understand that to a point, but I think a lot about the Edmonton Oilers. I'm pretty sure it was Dave Tippett was coaching and seemed to be doing a pretty good job. Then they were having a dog of a season, so they fired him and they brought in, I don't even remember his name, but the minor league coach who they brought in, and all of a sudden they just got hot and they caught fire, and people were saying, like John Shannon, and John Shannon is one of the best, and he was saying things like, well, they've been molding this brilliant young mind, and gee, they look really, really smart. No, they weren't. They were just throwing darts at the wall, waiting for something to stick. And long term, I kind of questioned if that was even best for the Oilers. I felt like they ended up back with a coach more similar to Dave Tippett, like Chris Knobloch, who coaches them now. So I guess I'm dancing around it, but I'm making the point: our teams just a little too flavor of the moment instead of just riding things out with the coach they already have, who's probably the best coach to begin with.
Maybe, but if it's not working, then change it. Because this isn't one of those, touchy-feely things. It's pro sports. The greatest line of all time in pro sports came from Josh Donaldson. Remember the old Blue Jay, the third baseman, MVP,
of course.
10 years ago?
Yeah.
He said, this isn't the try-hard league. This is the get-it-done league. And if you're not getting it done, we got to go find somebody else who will. It's interesting when it happens to a player, when a player gets released, traded, when they're not performing, fans are like, right on. And then when it comes to a coach, they're like, whoa. Suddenly feelings get in the way. It reached the end with Cassidy. It was done. It was going to happen. So what can we do to try and get this over the hump? It was finished with Tippett. Woodcroft was never brought in to be a long-term plan, but for a little while, that snooze button was long enough for the Oilers to make a run. And then the moment things didn't get off to a good start, either the following season or the year after, they just ripped the Band-Aid off. Off he went, and Knobloch came in. Yeah. So sometimes we get a little too philosophical about these things, and it's like, if the players aren't responding, if it's not working, then do something about it. Otherwise, everybody's going down with the ship. And sometimes good people end up becoming scapegoats, but that's pro sports. You know what you sign up for.
Woodcroft, I'm glad you remembered his name. Thanks for jogging my memory with that. And by the way, Donaldson, I remember he gave a little hitting clinic on MLB Network, and he was explaining, he said, that's how you get doubles and homers. They don't pay you for singles, they pay you for doubles and homers. So he was just full of the cliches. I hope that we get him out at the Regina Red Sox dinner one of these years. We got Kevin Pillar this year, in case you're interested.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Before I go down to my wild ideas that I like to throw at the wall in CFL off seasons, Winnipeg Jets. I think they're a wonderful, wonderful organization, the way they run things. I'm a huge fan at how they do things over there, even though I'm a Vancouver fan, but I've given up on them. And I kind of just wrote off their season a few weeks ago because I knew they were within striking distance, but, they'd been within striking distance all year. Now, they might get in. Can you see it happening? Are you as surprised as everybody else seems to be that the Jets have finally been able to mount a surge and legitimately look like they might be the third Canadian team in the playoffs this spring?
Yeah, they could. I don't know what to make of the Jets, to be honest with you. Like, you look at their goal differential, it's in the red. They never really felt like a contender. They're a million years behind, in the West, the Avalanche and Dallas. But the name of the game is to be healthy and to get hot at the end of the season. And with 8 to go, that's where Winnipeg is. Is there enough to get in? And then when that happens, what could happen? But Brendan, I'm going to push back, man. To me, the Winnipeg Jets have been a complete disaster since coming back to Manitoba from Atlanta. What have they accomplished? What have they ever done? Like, last year, they won a round, and there was a lot of backslapping of, there we are. Here we go. What? A round? There's an argument to be made that among the most unaccomplished franchises in pro sports today, right there with like the Charlotte Hornets and the Cleveland Browns, are the Winnipeg Jets. Because they literally have done nothing. And that includes the iteration of the Atlanta Thrashers. They literally have accomplished nothing in how long now?
Oh, I don't think anybody would argue that. They have accomplished very little, other than their WHA days, of course. That was the glory era.
That's a different franchise. No,
yeah,
but that's...
Yeah.
Where are they? They're the Utah Mammoth now.
I think you could argue Jets 1.0 and 2.0 in the NHL are pretty similar in the fact that they have accomplished just about nothing. The earlier iteration of the Jets got out of the first round twice and never made it out of the second round. At least this one has made it to the conference final. I think the reason why I respect the Jets, well, first of all, they have any excuse built in imaginable, even in a cap era. It's unbelievable they have a franchise to begin with, but also there's so many players who don't want to play in Winnipeg and blah, blah, blah. I guess what did it for me was two things. Kelly McCrimmon, who knows a thing or two about this, has said consistently the best draft and developed team in the NHL is easily the Winnipeg Jets. And when you look at the team that won the President's Trophy last year, on their roster, they had 18 guys who had been drafted and developed within their organization. So from that standpoint, look, I'm comparing them to kind of what the Montreal Expos had going when they were drafting and developing so many great players, but at the same token, they never accomplished anything either. So maybe I'm just digging into my nostalgia with that. Let's move on to something that really matters, and that's the fixing the Toronto Argonauts. They have... They have had... I've been obsessed with the Argos lately. Paul Woods, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he wrote 2 books, and one was Bouncing Back from National Laughingstock to Grey Cup Champion, Story of the 1983 Argos. I'm reading that right now. And his other was The Year of the Rocket, which was really interesting, just all the detail that he got into and the ins and outs of that. So I just find the Argo conversation fascinating. So one thing that I had texted you about is... they've tried a lot of different things in the last 40 years, and pretty well none of them have worked. And look, it's great that Rogers has the team now. I think most of us would agree it's good that somebody who has deep pockets, they can cover the losses. But we have also learned over the years that corporate ownership, just throwing money at the problem, is not always the long-term solution either. I know it wasn't corporate ownership, but David Braley was famous for throwing money at things but never actually making it any better. Charles Bronfman, who is the richest man in Canada, partnered with another rich guy in Canada, to run the Montreal Alouettes / Concords, and they lost like $20 million over the 5 years that they had it. Back at a time when $20 million was a lot of money. And they never made it better either, and it just ended up collapsing. So riddle me this. Let's say Rogers decides they want to throw the keys on the table, and Brendan and Arash are going to be 50-50 owners of the Toronto Argonauts, and I come to you and I say... No. You're not in? You don't want to partner with me. You don't want to own a franchise with me. Is that what it is?
I mean, when I think about lighting... I don't know. How many years do we own this thing before we throw the keys on the table?
Well, we're going to just borrow the money, and then when we run out of money, it won't be our money. We'll just borrow it from somebody else. That's what Bruce McNutt did. There's a lot of other things I'd rather do with torching, $30 million on fire than that, because it's just a hopeless cause. But anyway, go on. Okay, so you see it as hopeless. So I'm gonna throw something out there. We're seeing a lot of NFL teams who are relocating out to the suburbs, not because they can't draw in the city. It's because they're getting sweetheart deals sometimes from hillbilly politicians, and the NFL always likes a sweetheart deal. But I digress. One thing the Argonauts have not tried, at least to the best of my knowledge, I think it came close when Cinnamon and Sokolowski had it. They were going to move out by York University, and then Skydome made them a better offer, so it all fell through. And a lot of people still wonder if maybe that would have been better. Let's say you go out to one of these municipalities. I'll use Markham as just an example. And they have politicians and land developers who have been throwing money at ideas to just get sports and entertainment happening out in that burg to drive traffic to that area. And maybe you find a municipality that is really enthusiastic about having the Toronto Argonauts. You're not going to change the name. They're still the Toronto Argonauts. And will actually build them a world-class facility. Look, I've been to BMO Field. It has its charms. It's a lovely place. But it is not Mosaic Stadium, and you do not get an Argo vibe when you go in there. So if you
what is an Argo vibe?
Well, that's part of the problem. None of their homes have had an Argo vibe going back to probably before the Blue Jays. Really, they've been second-class citizens in whatever facility they've played in for 50 years. And I do wonder if you build a really awesome, build the best football stadium in Canada, not just for the Argos, to host things like Vanier Cups and other big events. Do it in a suburb that really, really wants it. You get way better parking. You can build a way better game day experience. The people who live out in that burg will think, oh, well, we don't have to drive into the city anymore for this. And you're going to piss some people off because they're going to have to travel further. But most of the diehards probably just want the Argos to be strong and have a better game day experience anyway. Now, is that a dumb idea? Or do you think there's some validity to exploring that if you're the Toronto Argonauts? And because everything else they've been trying just isn't working.
Well, there's a lot there. The first one is, where are we getting the $600 to $700 million to build this stadium?
From the politicians. You're lobbying the politicians, right? And there's other things, like the stadium in Regina is partly funded by the province. Some of it's funded by a ticket tax, I think, through the federal government. So I'm not saying that it's going to work, but I'm saying there has the people, the developers, and the politicians in some of these suburbs have been showing interest and an appetite to throw some money at a project like this. Would it be enough? I don't know. All I'm saying is, do you think it would be a worthwhile experiment for the Argos to maybe try this? Moving to BMO Field, a lot of us, I thought that would be a home run for them. It hasn't moved the needle for them. I'm not sure it's done anything for the Toronto Argonauts. And this would be one of the few things they have not yet tried.
Yeah, it's just an expensive try. Like, it's $1 billion try.
And the CFL plays in the summer. You don't need a roofed stadium, so you don't need to play this. You don't need to. I don't think you need $1 billion stadium. You might need half of that. But anyways,
so like the whole part of all this is that the CFL is just an irrelevant part of any new stadium project anywhere these days. The NFL is an irrelevant part. What is now happening is, like, even NBA, even with 41, or NHL with 41 dates, what's happening now is people are building districts so that you go, Atlanta is a good example. The new baseball stadium, the third one in the last 3 decades, is far from downtown, but it's an exit off the highway where it's not only a baseball stadium, it's 20 restaurants and 25 shops and a movie theater and a couple of hotels. And they don't just have you now with the ballpark from 6 o'clock to 10 p.m. They have you from 2 or 3 in the afternoon until midnight, all the parking, as you mentioned, etc. So that's good for baseball because 80 of your 360 days is taken up with that. Now, how do you fill the rest with concerts, with trade shows, with events, and all those kinds of things? And that's what new arena builds are all about. That's what new stadium builds are all about, is that if you want to get concerts and different things, then you got to look at either a retractable roof or an indoor facility to actually make this work to attract shows, events, etc., which is probably not going to happen in the GTA because you already have a newly renovated 45,000, 50 including the floor, ballpark right in the heart of downtown. Who's going to go out to Markham? The issue with Toronto, and this has nothing to do with the CFL, the issue with Toronto is that you have to have this perception that you're big league or people aren't interested. People say Toronto's a hockey town. Toronto's not a hockey town at all. Toronto is a Leaf town. 5 minutes down the road from the Scotiabank Arena, where people are willing to drop $800 for a Leaf ticket, is their AHL affiliate. Nobody goes to those games. They're watching tomorrow's Leafs. They're watching some of today's Leafs who might be on an injury rehab assignment, whatever. Nobody goes. There have been junior teams in Brampton and Mississauga in...
Oh, I know. I broadcast in the OHL one year, and they'd be lucky to get 1,500 people in Brampton. It's a tough sell there.
And so now, on top of that, you're adding the WNBA, you've added the PWHL, I just think what you're going to have with the Argos is somebody who has a lot of money, who might be interested in being a pro sports owner, who says, this will be fun to do for a little while until I reach the point where it's not that fun anymore because I've lost so much money. And to me, there's no fix. There's no fix. If you move it out to maybe Guelph, but they're not the Toronto Argonauts anymore, you have a better shot of moving them to Halifax and finding, private money that's going to build you a stadium than what you have there.
You don't think I know the Argos are not on the same level as the Blue Jays or the Maple Leafs or the Raptors, and they probably shouldn't be, but you don't think that they enjoy a higher level of prominence than those other properties that we talked about, like the OHL teams, the Marlies, etc.?
They're around the same. Here's the thing. And I've said this to Barney, and I've said this to others. On a Sunday afternoon in the fall, there's a great, it's funny, it's MLSE/Rogers Zone. There's a great sports bar right by Scotiabank Arena called Real Sports. Massive place, big screens, whatever. It's packed every NFL Sunday. It's not that if Chad Kelly walked in there with a group of 1,000 football fans, that not one person would recognize him. That's not the thing. Because Chad Kelly, he wouldn't even get in unless he had somebody get him a table. They're so far off the radar of relevance there. And now, on top of it, this season to be playing home games in Regina and in Winnipeg against the Bombers and the Riders. I mean, how do you not destroy a brand. The brand was already destroyed. How do you bury a brand for $400?
Oh, I'm with you on that. I thought that was dumb. I thought they should have done what BC's doing and use this as an opportunity to experiment a little bit. Do you think that's what they should have done? Find other areas in the GTA to put up a temp facility, try some different things. It seemed to me like it was a perfect opportunity to do that, and they just didn't care, didn't bother.
Remember the movie, Brendan, A League of Their Own?
Yeah, oh yeah, of course.
Remember Tom Hanks?
Yeah.
Jimmy Dugan?
Yeah. There's Saskatchewan connections to that movie. Yeah.
One of my favorite lines in that movie is that it's hard. It's supposed to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
The hard is what makes it great. It's hard to make a professional sports franchise go. It's hard to make an entertainment entity go. But it's the hard that makes it great. That's why when they lift the trophy, there's champagne. That's why there's relief and joy and all those things, because you think about how hard it was to win. Well, winning on the business side is filling up those stadiums, is making sure that, your finances are in order and the rest. The easy thing to do is often what so many people, opt for. They ask the athletes, overcome adversity, figure out a solution, all those things. But when it comes to looking in the mirror, it's a different kind of deal.
Yeah, it's felt that way with the Toronto Argonauts for a long time. Listen, it fascinates me because I don't know that the Canadian football... I think the CFL needs Toronto to be strong, and I do feel like there's a solution there somewhere. There were other franchises in Southern other...
I really don't.
I know, and you've made that clear, and I respect that, and you know better than I do because you're actually there and I'm not. Yeah.
I'll be honest. I actually thought the BMO thing was going to work.
So did I, yeah.
It's outdoors. There's a train stop right there. It's close to Liberty Village, where there's all these, condos, bars, restaurants, tailgate, blah, 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 blah. And it's too bad because the actual Argo fans are incredible. The problem is there's so few of them.
Just not enough. Yeah. Yeah. No, Yeah, no, it's always a fascinating thing to talk about because, like I said, I don't think the league can go without having a Toronto franchise, but you're danged if you do, danged if you don't. I'm sure we will talk about more of my crackpot ideas again soon. Thanks, Arash.
All right, Brendan. Thanks, man.
Okay, and that is Coast to Coast with Arash Madani on the Sportscage, and I've got to take a break. Coming up, we will have your clutch performer and the NASCAR report with Sharky. You are listening to the Sportscage and watching at sportscage.com.
Winter in Saskatchewan tests everything, our patience, vehicles, and sometimes our bumpers. From icy parking lot dings to serious highway mishaps, choosing local matters. At Regina Motor Products Collision Center, we're Saskatchewan-owned, run, and we drive these roads too. An SGI-accredited full-service collision center working on all makes and models. Submit your SGI claim and book your appraisal. It's easy. When you need repairs you can trust, it's neighbors helping neighbors. Regina Motor Products Collision Center, south at Highways 1 and 6 Albert Street, rmpchevrolet.com.
What's going on in the markets? When is the right time to invest? What should you do with your money today? When Margaret had questions, she talked to Brian Gawley.
We have been with Brian right from when the tax-free savings account came into being. He guided us as to what we should be doing and gave us very solid advice.
Don't guess with your money this RRSP season. Call Brian Gawley at Smart Investing Solutions, 546-2533.
I would not hesitate to recommend him.
You cut the grass, we'll cut the deal at Brant Agriculture. Get 0% financing for 84 months. Plus cash rebates and bonuses on select John Deere turf equipment. Save on compact utility tractors, riding lawnmowers, and utility vehicles. Get it from people who get it. Offer ends April 30th, 2026. Some restrictions may apply. See dealer for details.
Access is connected where it counts, in your community and in your home. And right now, we're making it more affordable for you to stay connected at the acreage, the cabin, or the farm with Access Rural Internet for as low as $69.95 for 24 months. Plus, you can add Access Next TV Stream and keep an eye on things with Access Rural Security. Stay connected, stay local with fast, reliable, homegrown solutions from Access Communications. Visit myaccess.ca to sign up.
The Sportscage NASCAR Report, where rubbin' is racing, is brought to you by Croft Electric. 27 years of trusted, reliable home, farm, and commercial service for all your electrical needs. Visit croftelectric.com and on all socials.
And like every week, we are joined on the Sports Cage for the Croft Electric NASCAR Report by Sharky. And what's going on in the world of NASCAR?
Well, interesting week. For the first time this year, a Chevy has won a race. Chase Elliott of Hendricks Motorsports picked up the first win of the year for the team and for the brand. Chase held off Denny Hamlin, who he passed the last 50 laps of the race. Hamlin led, get this, 292 of 400 laps, but didn't win the race. So, tough day for Denny Hamlin and his Toyota team, but he finished second. So far, Toyotas have won all but 2 of the races this year. Ford and Chevy have each picked up 1. We go into the Easter break, and as you may know, NASCAR takes the break for Easter. It's the only professional sport that has a prayer before it starts. So they're taking the week off for Easter, but there are some interesting pieces as we go into the break. Younger drivers that are creeping up the point standings. Look for them to win one this year, and I've talked about them already. Ryan Preece sits 13th, Carson Hocevar sits 15th, and Daniel Suarez 16th in the standings, and they're all off to great starts after the first 7 races. Bubba Wallace, who was second for a few weeks behind teammate Tyler Reddick, has fallen out of the top 10 after he finished 36th at Martinsville. It was a very bad day for Bubba Wallace. Kyle Busch is having a tough year. He's sitting 26th in the standings, has yet to break the top 10 in any race. But if you ask Kyle, it was never his fault. It's always somebody else. Finally, Tyler Reddick continues to hold down first place, followed by Ryan Blaney. And the Joe Gibb Racing team has all 3 drivers in the top 7 so far this season. With the break this week, next week we return to Bristol, Tennessee in the Bristol Motor Speedway, a half-mile track, another rubbin' is racing event just like Croft Electric likes. Lots of bumping and pushing and getting people out of the way. So week off and then back to Bristol for next week. There we go, boys.
Was it Tyler Busch, you said, who never accepts accountability for when things go wrong? Kyle Busch. I think he just named the best candidate for the next general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, yeah, he can deflect like anybody. So, yeah, he'd be a great candidate for the Leafs job. Yeah.
Terrific. Awesome. Thanks, Sharky. We'll talk to you again next week.
Have a great day. Cheers.
Okay. And that is the NASCAR report for Croft Electric. 27 years of trusted, reliable home, farm, and a commercial service for all electrical needs. croftelectric.com. And that was interesting about Denny Hamlin. I didn't know that. He had the lead for almost 3/4 of the entire race and then just totally blew it. That happens in NASCAR too, not just in hockey or the NBA or any of the other sports. We better step aside and take a quick timeout. Still ahead on this hour of the show, our sprinkle of the day for Sports Select. We have an update on what happened last night, too. You won't want to miss that. You are listening to the Sports Cage and watching at sportscage.com.
The Early Bird Spring Sale is on now at Extreme Hockey and Sport. The entire store is 15 to 25% off. Brands like Yeti, CCM, Bauer, all clothing and apparel. If it's in stock, it's on sale, and it must go to make room for new product. All purchases in February qualify for a custom Yeti summer package valued at $5,000. Locally owned, community-focused Extreme Hockey and Sport. 1425 McIntyre Street, conveniently located at the Cooperator Center, and online at extremehockey.net.
Hey, Clyde, where are you getting your diesel parts from?
Well, the dealer, of course.
Are you nuts? Smoke'em Diesel can save you a ton of cash.
Smoke'em Diesel can supply you with turbos, injectors, injection pumps, anything diesel related. They don't sell junk. Construction, agriculture semi, pickup truck, and all European diesel. Find them on Facebook or call 306-545-5911 for all your diesel needs.
Access is connected where it counts, in your community and in your home. And right now, we're making it more affordable for you to stay connected at the acreage, the cabin, or the farm with Access Rural Internet for as low as $69.95 for 24 months. Plus, you can add Access Next TV Stream and keep an eye on things with Access Rural Security. Stay connected, stay local with fast, reliable, homegrown solutions from Access Communications. Visit myaccess.ca to sign up.
You cut the grass, we'll cut the deal at Brent Agriculture. Get 0% financing for 84 months, plus cash rebates and bonuses on select John Deere turf equipment. Save on compact utility tractors, riding lawnmowers, and utility vehicles. Get it from people who get it. Offer ends April 30th, 2026. Some restrictions may apply. See dealer for details.
The Sportscage Clutch Performer for Keln Solar. Thinking about saving money by using solar power? Keln Solar is a local family company that can put solar panels on your home, business, or farm. KelnSolar.com.
Time for our Clutch Performer, and we like to get somebody local, but we haven't been seeing a lot of luck the last few days local. We could have gone with Ephram McNutt just because he was such a fantastic interview in hour one, and he got a point and sounded like he had a pretty good game in the Pats' loss to Medicine Hat last night. But instead, we decided to be a little bit selfish on behalf of Brendan for a few reasons, and we're going to roll with Brock Besser of the Vancouver Canucks, who had the hat trick in the 8-6 victory over the Colorado Avalanche last night, which not only surprised the heck out of everybody, it surprised me. It still hasn't reeled me in as a Canuck fan. I've still completely given up on them for the foreseeable future. What was really sweet about that game, did you see those sweet Nordique unis that the Avalanche were wearing in that game?
Yeah, it's nice that they're still repping the Nordiques, that jersey hasn't gone away completely.
Yeah, just as long as they make it available whenever the Nordique actually do eventually one day return, I have no problem with teams celebrating it in the meantime. I know a lot of Montreal Expo fans loathe the idea of the Washington Nationals celebrating their history. It doesn't bother me so much. The Phoenix Coyotes celebrated the Winnipeg Jet history for years. That's absolutely no big deal. It made people think about the Jets. I thought it was totally fine. But anyway, Brock Besser provided a little bit of sunshine, as did the rest of the Canuck roster, on an otherwise cloudy season. So he is our clutch performer for Keln Solar. You know they can help with your livestock operations, but now book your solar quotes for your home, farm, or cabin. Save money with the local company Keln Solar in Lumsden. You look like you wanted to add something.
Yeah, it is a sports clutch performer, but it's an unorthodox one. So Alex Ward is the lawn snapper for, I believe he just got signed by the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay.
And he and his fiancée just tied the knot April 1st. So congrats to them.
April Fool's Day.
Yeah. But they posted a video from their wedding day, and it looks like some tropical location. Looks like a great venue. But the caption, and this is posted by his now wife, Angela, "No bouquet tosses at specialists' weddings." And I've got the video here, and we'll describe it for you. But basically, again, he's a long snapper. So she's on her knees, he hikes the ball to her, and then they got a kicker in the party somewhere who comes in and boots the ball off into the hills.
That's pretty cool. That's a waste of a perfectly good football because there's no way they're going to get that back. But
yeah, I read a bit of the comments, and she said, yeah, if anyone wants a used Raiders facility football, it's somewhere in the hills of wherever they were. But there was a lot of other comments, too, about, wow, she got the laces out. Oh, it's a lefty kicker? You got to make some adjustments there?
Oh, you're talking about her being the clutch performer for getting the hold down. Yeah, she was pretty good in that wedding dress. Probably in high heels, too.
And she was also given credit. It was her idea. The groom was like, are we sure? You sure you want to do this? You want to get your dress all messed up? And she's like, no, we're doing this. So I was like, that's great.
Did we ever catch her name?
Angela. Yeah, so that's Alex and Angela Ward tied the knot yesterday. And
there you go.
Had a very, very clean-looking exchange there with the snap and the hold and the kick.
And much more impressive than anything that Brock Besser or any of the Vancouver Canucks have achieved this season, last night or otherwise.
Not wrong.
Should we take a break before we do the sprinkle?
No, let's do it now.
Okay, all right. So we're going to do the sprinkle of the day for Sport Select. And
we're looking NHL again?
We're on a hot streak.
That's what I figured.
So we picked the over-under in the game last night between Vancouver and Colorado, and I couldn't remember what it was. 6 was the over-under, and I said, let's roll with the over. That's 2 in a row, and it was 14. So we completely, totally blew that out of the water. So we are going to, this is for Sports Select. Getting in on more of the sports action you want is as easy as playing at sportselect.com. Simply make your picks online, generate your QR code, and lock in your bet at your local lotto spot retailer. And of course, as you know, I'm very passionate about supporting local, and Sports Select is local.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, the games that we have tonight, now all 7 Canadian teams are in action. Buffalo at Ottawa is probably as good as any, and you know what? I think I'm just going to stick with what I know. That's my thought. It's an over-under of 6, and I just have to think that the Sabres especially have enough firepower that they're going to put up enough goals with whatever Ottawa can put through from their meager offensive bunch, that it should be enough to get over 6 goals in the game tonight for those reasons. And Ottawa's playing at home too, so they got a shot to make a game out of it. I think Buffalo's a far superior team. Let's pick the over on the Ottawa-Buffalo game at 6.
I'm just looking at our other spreads here. Montreal at New York Rangers.
You're looking at the spreads, or you're looking at the over-under? Seems like the over-under is the same everywhere.
Yeah, it's usually a 6 or 5.5 from what I've been seeing, but I figured we would just take a gander at some of the other games. Yeah, Jets and Dallas is 5.5.
I think the over would be a good on that one too.
Canucks and the Wild.
You know what? The Winnipeg-Dallas one, I can understand why it's as low as it is. You have 2 of the best goalies in the NHL.
It's true.
I think I'll stick with that first pick. Vancouver, Minnesota, I'd probably take the over on that one too. You can tell that I've developed this newfound obsession with over-unders because it's something that I've never really bet on before, and I've witnessed other people making real money at this thing, betting on the over-under. But at the end of the day, it's still gambling, and it's anybody's guess. And that is brought to you by Sports Select. Getting in on more of the sports action you want is as easy as playing at sportselect.com. Simply make your picks online, generate your QR code, and lock in your bet at your local lotto spot retailer. Still ahead on this edition of the Sportscage in Hour 3, we will check in with Glen Suitor for this Thursday edition of Press Coverage. You are watching and listening to the Sportscage on 620 CKRM.
If you're planning an exterior renovation this year, now's the time to start. From siding and roofing to fencing, decking, garage packages, windows, and doors, Freeze Tallman has everything you need to get your project off the ground and done right. Expert advice, quality materials, and the service you expect from people who know your community. Plan now and build with confidence. Visit freezetallman.com. Freeze Tallman. Locally owned, family grown, rooted in our community for 70 years.
Out here in southern Saskatchewan, the sun shows up for work every day. Might as well make it earn its keep. That's where Keln Solar comes in. These folks travel all over the province helping people put solar on their homes, farms, and cabins. They're local guys, Sask-born, Sask-raised, and not going anywhere. Except, to your place. Now's the time to start planning for spring and summer 2026 bookings. Give Keln Solar a call and they'll come show you your best options. Keln Solar. They move the power so you don't have to. KelnSolar.com.
You cut the grass, we'll cut the deal at Brant Agriculture. Get 0% financing for 84 months. Plus cash rebates and bonuses on select John Deere turf equipment. Save on compact utility tractors, riding lawnmowers, and utility vehicles. Get it from people who get it. Offer ends April 30th, 2026. Some restrictions may apply. See dealer for details.
Get it hot and get it fast. Western Pizza.
Picture this, a crust so golden it could blind a superhero. Toppings piled higher than a stack of pancakes on a trampoline. Every bite, a flavor explosion. Every slice, a hug for your taste buds. Garlic, roasted to perfection. Pepperoni, perfectly spicy. Western Pizza is so good, you'll argue who gets the last slice. Western Pizza, dine in or take out today.
And get it hot and get it fast. Western Pizza.
It's time for the Sports Ticker, brought to you by Extreme Hockey and Sport is the home of the price match guarantee. 1425 McIntyre Street, the Cooperator Center, Moose Jaw Temple Garden Center, and online at extremehockey.net.
Well, it's a quiet night in the junior loop locally after that flurry of WHL playoff action last night. And, of course, the SJHL semifinals get underway this weekend as well. In the WHL, just one game somewhat close to home. The Calgary Hitmen will try and finish off the Brandon Wheat Kings in Game 4. Calgary holding a 3-0 series lead, trying to generate the sweep. Junior B action. League final, Regina Capitals are in Saskatoon to play the Wesley. 7:45 puck drop there. The Wesleys lead the best-of-7 series 2-1. A lot of people talking about the TELUS Cup Western Regional. Tonight, the Thunder Bay Kings face the Regina Pats Canadians. I know a lot of eyes will be on that. The Winnipeg Bruins just on the ice playing the Moose Jaw Warriors. Men's World Curling Championships. Matt Dunstone and Team Canada will hit the ice at 7 o'clock against Norway. And all 7 Canadian teams in the NHL are in action. I don't know if that happens very often, especially on a weeknight. The Ottawa Senators home to the Buffalo Sabres. Montreal is visiting the Rangers. The Winnipeg Jets are in Dallas. That's a huge game for Winnipeg. Vancouver Canucks at Minnesota, trying to pull spoiler after their big upset win last night. The Edmonton Oilers are home to Chicago. The Flames are in Vegas. Eric Francis, we talked to him yesterday. He's down in Vegas to take that one in. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are in San Jose to play the Sharks. The Toronto Blue Jay game today, I was going to say it got rained out. It didn't get rained out. It got wintered out due to inclement weather. They will play tomorrow afternoon at noon, just after noon Eastern time. That's how they do it in Chicago this time of year with all the inclement weather that they get. And that is your sports ticker for Extreme Hockey and Sport. Whatever your spring sport is, Extreme Hockey has you covered. Brendan McGuire and Colson Schultz on this Thursday edition of the program for Access Communications, trusted in rural Saskatchewan for internet, TV, and home security. By the way, no Good Friday edition of the program, and of course all Friday sports cages are for Nelson Homes, supplying home packages and RTMs for over 65 years. You know, Arash, I just love him to death, but he is just such a gloomy Gus anytime we talk about ideas for the Canadian Football League. And listen, I'm not going to say that I know as much about Toronto as he does. He lives there. He knows the market better than anybody. I disagree with the assertion that the Toronto Argonauts don't enjoy a higher level of prominence than, say, the Brampton Battalion or the, I don't even remember what their G League team is for the Toronto Raptors that play in the area. The other teams that they had, the Mississauga Steelheads, even the Oshawa Generals. I don't believe for a second that any of those brands come even close to the Toronto Argonauts. As sad as the Toronto Argonaut brand has been in Toronto for the past 40 years, I don't think any of those teams could draw 15,000 people to a game like the Argos even do in downtown. I think a big part of the problem with the Argonauts, Arash makes the point that in the Real Sports Bar, it's such a great place, and all these people come in on NFL Sundays, and it's packed. That's kind of my point, why the Argos should look at maybe getting away from the downtown. There's so much clutter in the downtown of the big city. I thought BMO Field would work, and there were signs of encouragement. I know they had a great crowd on the first night, and then it just totally went back to how it's always been for the Toronto Argonauts playing in that city. And I just don't know that it's a good fit. I'll give you a good example of why moving out to the suburbs could work. We do WHL games on this radio station, and part of the WHL is the Seattle Thunderbirds. And they have been around for, I think, 40 years now, and have been largely a financial and business success. And now they have the NHL. And a big reason that has been cited for why the Thunderbirds continue to do well from a business standpoint, despite the competition now from having an NHL franchise, is the fact they do not play in downtown Seattle. They play out in the suburbs, a suburb called Kent, Washington. And they regularly draw their 5,000 people or so. And it does just fine, largely because people who live in the suburbs around that area embrace something that's big league sports, or somewhat big league sports, that's close to where they live. They don't have to drive the hour and a half to get to downtown Seattle. They have a team that feels kind of like a pro sports team in their own backyard. And so they wrap their arms around it. The Vancouver Giants used to play in downtown Vancouver at the old Pacific Coliseum, and they drew well for a while, and then it tapered off. And now they play in Langley, which is way out in the boonies. Why? Because they find it works better for them. They're able to wrap their arms around the experience and make it look and feel big league to the folks who live out in that burg. And there are diehards in the inner part of the city of Vancouver who understand that the existence of a franchise like the Vancouver Giants is always tenuous at best. And so they appreciate and respect the fact why the team has to move out to the suburbs. And some of them, on occasion, will make the trek out to go watch their team. I wonder if the same could be true for the Toronto Argonauts. They have an incredible diehard base. The problem is there's just not quite enough of them. And I wonder if they're able to get away from all the clutter of the downtown and competing with the constant oxygen being sucked up by the Blue Jays, the Maple Leafs, and the Raptors, if they go to a municipality where they can build a world-class facility. And it doesn't have to be $1 billion facility. That's another really good thing that the CFL is doing. For years, they were kind of half pregnant because there was an era where they wanted to move deeper into the fall to get away from competing with the Blue Jays, and at one point, the Montreal Expos. But in the last 10 years, the popularity of the National Football League has exploded in this country. And so now they're doing a double reverse where they're saying, no, we want to be back in the summer because, number one, we don't want to compete with the NFL so much. And I think another big reason is from an infrastructure standpoint, if you're going to play just one game in November, the Grey Cup the first Sunday in November, as they're going to do here in Regina in 2027, it kind of removes the need to have a dome or to have a retractable roof, which I think is also really smart. So the Canadian Football League doesn't need to spend $1 billion to have a world-class facility. The official numbers came in at under $300 million for Mosaic Stadium. Now, I realize we've had a lot of inflation since then, and that number would probably might be closer to $400 million if they had to build it today, maybe even higher than that. So you're probably looking at somewhere around $500 million if you're going to build a proper stadium. But these suburbs, I mentioned Markham in particular, have shown an appetite and a willingness to help with that. They have tried to build an NHL caliber facility out in Markham. The NHL is maybe a little too rich of an ask. But the Canadian Football League, maybe that's not such a crazy idea. Arash pointed out the land development that's happened with the Atlanta Braves, and that is working very, very well. That has been a smashing success. Sometimes those projects work, sometimes they don't. We saw with the Phoenix Coyotes, these hillbilly politicians gave them a whole bunch of money to build an NFL stadium and an NHL stadium, and it worked just fine for the NFL team, and it didn't work at all. It was absolutely dreadful for the NHL team. That's my point of why I think the Argos could work playing out in the suburbs. The CFL just has to commit to Saturdays being their day and creating the flurry of activity, and I think they're trying to do that, much like the National Football League has committed to Sundays. Saturdays are still there for the taking for the TV audience in Canada because Canadians, by and large, don't watch American college football, which sucks up a lot of the oxygen on Saturdays in the fall in the United States. So it's there for the taking. And I think it's at least something the CFL should explore because just having rich owners like Rogers has quite often not really worked out very well in the long run. So I'm sure none of it will ever happen, but it's an idea, and it's I think at the very least worthy of more discussion. Coming up in hour 3, press coverage with Glen Suitor. You are listening to the Sportscage for Access Communications at sportscage.com.
Proudly broadcasting from Treaty 4 territory, the homeland of the Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, Saulteaux, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. We are 620 CKRM Regina, a Harvard media station.
Good evening, I'm Tanner Wallace Scribner from the SaskToday.ca newsroom with 620 CKRM News for Echo Sound in Fort Capel. Stay connected with a new cell phone from Echo Sound. Call 306-332-6711 and brought to you by Capital Automotive Group. Capital's 100K giveaway is back. See capital100k.ca for more information. A new report shows Regina's Integrity Commissioner found no ethic violations among city councilors in 2025. The commissioner received 21 complaints, but most were informal inquiries rather than formal allegations. According to the report, 13 of those inquiries concerned city services, with residents unsure where to direct their concerns. 7 others involved councilors, mainly questions about the complaint process. One formal complaint was investigated, but no violations were found. The role of the Integrity Commissioner is to independently review potential breaches of the city's Code of Ethics, which has been in place since 2017. A Regina man accused in a deadly rollover crash will be back in court on April 15th. 18-year-old Connor Douglas is charged with impaired driving causing death, dangerous driving causing death, and driving while over .08. The charges relate to a July 2025 collision at 6th Avenue North and Smith Street. Police say the vehicle hit a power pole and rolled, killing a 13-year-old passenger at the scene. Douglas made a previous court appearance last month, and the case continues later this month in Regina Provincial Court. A new childcare agreement in Saskatchewan is sparking political debate as it takes effect. The province's $10 a day program now includes children who turn 6 while in kindergarten, but only if their birthday falls on April 1st or later. The NDP says families with children who turned 6 just before the cutoff are facing significant fee increases. Education Minister Everett Hindley says the previous agreement did not include those children, and the updated deal represents an improvement, though it cannot be applied retroactively. He adds any farther changes would depend on increased federal funding. Community groups in Saskatchewan are being encouraged to apply for provincial funding to support Indigenous initiatives. The government has opened 3 programs focused on safety, culture, and partnerships. The MMIWG Plus Community Response Fund is changing this year, allowing applications on an ongoing basis. Eligible groups can receive up to $40,000 for projects that promote awareness and support Indigenous women and families. Additional funding is available for events and partnerships. The province says the goal is to strengthen communities and support meaningful connections across Saskatchewan. That's 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sasktoday.ca and 620CKRM.com.
Capital's 100K giveaway is back for 2026. The Capital Automotive Group is giving away $100,000 in cash and prizes with no strings attached. We're proud to be part of communities across Western Canada, and we know it's those communities that allow us to exist. So every once in a while, once a year to be exact, we're going to say thanks by giving away $100,000 in cash and prizes. To learn more and enter to win, check out capital100k.ca. Capital's 100K giveaway. Do not miss it.
And your precision weather brought to you by Next Gen Coatings. Spray coatings for truck beds, liners, rocker panels, and more. Same company, new name, 1865 McCarra Street, Regina. And for Kevin's Marine, visit kevinsmarine.com or in Fort Qu'Appelle.
The overall pattern is relatively quiet with no big-ticket weather systems in sight, but we do continue to see a fair amount of low-level moisture across the province, and this will lead to a fair amount of cloudiness through the overnight hours tonight. We'll start to see some breaks of sun tomorrow. It may turn brighter in the afternoon, and it looks like a quiet weekend. Those temperatures will remain cold, but will trend upward with a seasonable day on Saturday. A shot of cooler air will work in starting on Easter Sunday into early next week. Cloudy, -4 tonight. Easterly winds at 15 to 25. Chance of precipitation 20%. Partly sunny at times tomorrow. A high of +2. Easterly winds at 10 to 20. Chance of precipitation 20%. Partly cloudy, -4 tomorrow night. Light east to southeast winds. Mixed cloud and sun. 6 degrees on Saturday. East to southeast winds at 10 to 20. Partly sunny on Easter Sunday with a high of +1. Mostly sunny and colder. -2 on Monday. With your 620 CKRM Precision Weather Forecast, I'm meteorologist Russ Murley.
For over 40 years, you've known them as Regina's trusted vehicle protection specialists. Now they're introducing the next gen of coatings. New name, new level of protection. They're now next gen coatings. 3 generations of their family have served your family, and that hasn't changed. Same owners, same commitment, ready for the next gen of truck beds, rocker panels, trailers, bumpers, and running boards. The company hasn't changed, just the name. Next Gen Coatings, 1865 McCarra Street. The next gen starts now.
This is the year to own the boat of your dreams. At Kevin's Marine, discover legendary Lund boats, built for a lifetime of serious fishing and family fun. Stretch out and relax, or enjoy the day with family on a brand new pontoon from Bentley or Crest, or make a splash in a 4-wind sport boat, all powered by trusted Mercury 4-stroke motors. Right now, get manufacturer rebates, dealer discounts, and low payment financing. Make decking easy with Shoremaster aluminum docks and lifts. Visit Kevin's Marine in Fort Capel or kevinsmarine.com.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sports Cage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Access Communications, trusted in rural Saskatchewan for internet, TV, and home security. Be part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The Sports Cage. Streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Thursday Sports Cage for Access Communications. Brendan McGuire doing the talking. Colson Schultz doing all the real work. The Toronto Blue Jays off today because of inclement weather in the Windy City. And as is often the case, they play just day games during the week in the month of April, which is about the only thing that will work in Chicago. Kind of a downer with them losing 2 of 3 to the Colorado Rockies. I don't think too many people saw that coming, but it is still early, and they are 4-2 early on the season. A lot of worries about their pitching. The Pats, don't forget, Saturday night, Game 5, trying to cling to their playoff lives in their game against the Medicine Hat Tigers. Dante DiCario will have the pregame show at 6:30 on the almighty 6:20 puck drop at 7. If the Pats do pull out the victory, and they have won one of the games in Medicine Hat in this series so far, Game 6 will be the next day at the Brandt Center with a 6 o'clock puck drop. Okay, let's get to Suits.
Time now for press coverage with CFL and Saskatchewan Roughrider legend Glen Suitor on the Sports Cage. Brought to you by Freeze Tallman Lumber, locally owned, family grown, rooted in our community for 70 years in Regina and Fort Capel.
Glen Suitor is here like he is every Thursday, but this time we're not wearing matching hats. He's got his, that looks like a U of S Huskies hat you have on. And I do the broadcast for the U of R Rams, so I wouldn't wear that hat on a bet. But
well, first of all, I like yours. That's CFLPA, right?
Yeah, it is so. Yeah.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, I like that a ton. And I that's one that I've never had. And that's probably why Solomon Elamimian gives me the stink eye every now and then when they walk by. I'm kidding, of course, but I like that idea to support the PA. But, Dog's Breakfast coming up at the end of the month. So, I want to support the group, support the U of S. I have for years.
Who's coming this year? They always have like a heavy hitter guest.
Yeah, Pinball Clements is going to be the guest speaker this year. Yeah, so looking forward to it. Yeah, there's been some, from both leagues. We've had great guests throughout the years. I think it's over 20 years now. I've been directly involved as either an MC or not. This year I'm going to go as just a guest and enjoy the morning, the breakfast. I'm always inspired to start a football season because it's always beginning of May or end of April. And to see, that thousands of people sign up and be there for a breakfast, listen to a great guest speaker every year, and get you fired up for the football summer coming up. It's a great way to sort of kick off everything for me personally, selfishly, but I know it's great for the U of S and the football program.
And sharing the province with them makes the Rams a lot better program too. They're just such a well-run program in Saskatoon, and I always love going up there doing games. And the rivalry is actually worth talking about, because for a while it really wasn't. And the fact that they've met each other in the last two Hardy Cups is really exciting. It's unbelievable the amount of extra. I think you and I talked about it earlier this week. There were 5,000 kids playing organized football in Saskatchewan in 2005. Today it's 25,000. And that's right from Mike Thomas with Football Saskatchewan. And I think that's a big reason why we didn't see an all-Sask Hardy Cup for the longest time. And then we saw it happen the last 2 years. And they've been great games. And I don't think that's going to happen every year, but it's not the last of it either. We're actually seeing players from out of province wanting to come and play in this rivalry, which is exciting too. It is, like you said, well into the off-season. And this is the time of year where Brendan likes to throw out lots of crackpot ideas and darts at the wall to just see what sticks. Nothing ever really sticks. And we were chatting with Arash Madani about my idea for fixing the Toronto Argonauts and their attendance problems in hour two. So I'm going to throw one at you that's been on my mind for quite a while. And I've had discussions with people at the league level and a lot of coaches. Personnel people don't really know what to make of it, so I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. But we have a Canadian player ratio in the CFL that requires 7 Canadian starters. And that ratio is not going anywhere anytime soon. I think a lot of us support the ratio, me included. I've long believed that one really useful tweak to the ratio would be to, instead of having 7 Canadian starters, just roll with 4 Canadians on the field at all times. And the reason why I think that would be such a good idea is, number one, that would be a lot easier to manage from a league perspective. They're not going to have these grievances about, well, did they really follow the rule with the designated import? Did they play their 51% of the plays or not? It would also ensure that we have 8 starters, not 7 or 7.5. And maybe above all else, I think it would lead to more exciting football on the field, because when I started watching the game was when you were playing near the end of your career. It was like 91, 92. We had the big discussion about Doug Flutie's 6,600 passing yards earlier this week. And I feel like the games are great. I still enjoy the games. I think they've come a long way from where they were at the pandemic. But you will not convince me that we are back to where it was in the heyday of the early 1990s. I used to love the discussions about how, yeah, but our game is way more fun to watch than the National Football League. And I have no doubt that we can get back to there. I think our games are better than the NFL right now, but we could be so much better than we are. And I feel like part of the challenge is that teams are loading up on Canadians on the offensive side of the football, and they are not developing enough Canadian stars on the defensive side of the football. I'll give you an example. Some teams have one Canadian on the defensive side of the ball. I think if you even it up, you now create more, teams will try to create more mismatches, and it will put the impetus on teams and universities to develop more Canadian defensive backs, more Canadian linebackers, more Canadian pass rushers. And the cherry on top with all of that is, I've been doing the Regina Ram games the last 2 years, and I've noticed that the sacks per game are about 20% less at that level. And I didn't know why. I didn't really give it a lot of thought till one of the coaches at that level said, well, you know why that is, right? And I said, no. Why? Tell me. And he said, it's because at the CFL level, at the college level, you have Canadian on Canadian in all that offensive line, defensive line play. In the CFL, you often have Americans coming at Canadian offensive linemen. I don't say that to disparage the Canadian athlete or Canadian O-lineman, but when you have a 20% discrepancy in sacks, and sacks are an exciting part of the game, you have quarterbacks getting hit a lot more, and you have more man games lost because of that. And my final comment on that is, the other box that you can check is if they say, well, now the American players, they feel like they're being pushed out. There's always a give back you can have. Like, okay, maybe we'll have one more American player on the roster, more American players on special teams or something like that. So I've thrown a whole lot of stuff at you on the spot, but I would be curious to hear your early preliminary thoughts of that little rant.
Well, yeah, let me start with the fact that how you started the discussion, which was to say that the Canadian ratio is not going anywhere, and it shouldn't. So that being said, I'm wondering if your idea is it 4 starters on offense, 4 starters on defense mandatory? Is that the idea?
Yeah, 4 Canadians on the field at all times, which would effectively mandate that you have 4 starters on offense and on defense.
On both. Okay, so 4. So okay, I get you. Okay, so yeah, I mean, how you implement the 7 or the 8 or whatever it may be, can be tweaked and can be looked at as long as it's not lowered. And I've heard this argument even from coaches, often American coaches, that have said, one of the reasons our quarterbacks get hit, to your point, more than maybe a quarterback down south or whatever, is that that discrepancy between the kid that came out of Oklahoma versus the kid that played at the U of R or the U of S. And, if you have that matchup, Oklahoma is going to win more often. And unfortunately, that just doesn't pan out when you actually break it down watching the games. And, if you put, I'll just say Roger Aldag on the O-line, he can play Oklahoma and Alabama till the lights go out. And he's going to not only hold his own, but still be an all-star in that position. And, that's what we see more and more year in and year out, is that youth sports and Canadian athletes that go down to college football in the States are becoming more pro-ready every single year. So the crop, first of all, at the Combine this year, all I'm hearing is reporters raving about how good the talent was at the Canadian Combine this year. And that has happened over the last 4 or 5 years, to a point where Randy Ambrosie was at times behind closed doors, the former commissioner of the league, would talk about the fact and ask the question, do we actually need a ratio with the talent level being so much better year in and year out coming out of youth sports and Canadian colleges and the Canadian athlete? And, I would say if you could put them on the field and just judge them as athletes, you could talk about eliminating the ratio or lowering it, but that's not what happens. That's sort of one of the pipe dreams of fairness in looking at, and no politics when you're looking at a coach evaluating a player. It's the same in a different way in the National Football League. In the National Football League, if you don't come out of a big school or aren't in part of the top 5 draft in the NFL, your chance of making that team is almost nil. And the reason for that, more than anything and more than your talent, is often the politics of it. The politics of, we have to protect our scouting staff, so the first rounder is going to make the team. He's making the team. Even if that 5th rounder or 6th rounder is better than him in that position, it's not going to happen. And the same can be said in Canada about American coaches that can do a free agent camp, or GMs that can do a free agent camp in LA and find, 10, 15 pro-ready athletes at a free agent camp out of LA or Oklahoma or wherever. And they have to go out and really work at youth sports, finding, the quality players that are going to be pro-ready. Less and less now, because as I mentioned, they're pro-ready more and more year in and year out. However, if you don't have to, spend money to talk to the U of R coaches and the U of S coaches and learn about these athletes that are coming out of the Canadian colleges, because you have to fill your ratio and you have to have that Canadian content, then, that's where, if you didn't have to do it, they wouldn't, is my point. There would still be Canadians that played, don't get me wrong, but the ratio just is partially developmental, where that kid coming out of Alabama, yeah, maybe he's slightly more ready to step on the field and make an impact. And maybe Sam Emelis or Keon Schaefer-Baker needs a year before he actually becomes an all-star level receiver. There is a developmental aspect to the ratio, and I don't have a problem with that. And I don't think Canadian football fans do have a problem. I've said this many times, Brendan. If you took the name tags off and you didn't know, the running style and things like that, could you right now on the field tell which are Canadians and which are Americans?
No, 99% of the fan base can't figure that out. Sorry, I shouldn't say can't figure it out, but just doesn't know because they don't live and breathe it like you and I do. Yeah.
Yeah, but to be honest, I'm not sure I would. I mean, I know their running style and their body types. I actually go by that when I'm calling a game more than I do their numbers, because sometimes with the new, especially the add-on jerseys, those numbers can be difficult to read from a distance. So but if I didn't know that, like if I was just going to watch a CFL game for the first time and there were no name tags and no program showing that they're Canadian or not Canadian, I could not tell the difference. And so, I think that the discussion on, how do we get more making it on defense, or how do you manage the roster? And I've said this to coaches many times. If you're worried about Oklahoma on defense going against, UBC on offense on the line of scrimmage, then change the ratio there. Play an American offensive lineman then. No one says you can't. You can play your Americans and your Canadians anywhere you want. So this idea, I think it becomes sort of, I'm not sure which coach you're talking about that said it to you, but I think for some coaches it just becomes lazy, to be honest. They go, wow, it's Oklahoma versus UBC. That's not fair. That's just it's a lazy assessment. It really is.
And no, you're absolutely right. I agree with all of that. And I'll cite an example back to when you were still playing. I remember Jock Climby when he was really, your old TSN pal, when he was early with the Ottawa Roughriders. He made a big catch, a big play over, I think it was Junior Thurman, like Jameer's dad, the really good defensive back. And I think it was Junior. Sorry, I'd have to do my research. But it was an American defensive back. And it leaked out that Wally Buono chewed him out, the defensive back, and said, "You went to USC. He went to Queens. You should have been able to shut him down." And Jock got wind of it, and he called him out, like really called Wally out for doing that. And good on him for doing it. And I was kind of surprised to hear that, like Wally's a Canadian. He should understand all these things. And I always thought it was ridiculous when Larry Smith was the commissioner and they were doing the U.S. expansion, and he was willing to go along with the idea that the ratio had its day, and a lot of the CFLPA members said, well, the ratio probably had a hand in Larry Smith getting the chances that he had, and he never would have been CFL commissioner today if it wasn't for the ratio. So I'm surprised, he and Randy Ambrosi, of all people, should totally understand the critical importance of the ratio. And I have this argument sometimes. One part that fascinates me a bit is even talking to a player like Nick Lewis, who makes his home in Regina now, or Robert Mims, guys who live in Canada, who actually, I can't speak for them, but I guess I kind of am, have told me that they support the ratio. Like that you can have a ratio. It's okay to have a ratio. So I think if even there are American players who essentially had to go against the ratio, I think that shows the support for it and the understand for the need to have it. But I guess, so maybe I'll reframe my question a little differently. It's not so much to hide the Canadians, but more, let's do a better job of having a better balance of the athletes that we're developing. And to your point about the laziness, teams often will just use 2 American tackles on the outside. The Roughriders were probably guilty of that for a while. And eventually they said, you know what, let's go with 3 Americans. No, actually, we have Tavon Campbell. Let's use 4 Americans on the offensive line. Yeah, and that has forced them, that has forced them to develop athletes at other positions. So maybe it's just as simple as that. Maybe we don't need to mandate it. Coaches just need to be better at coming up with that balance.
Well, and the Riders are champions. So, and it's, all sports is sort of copycat, where other coaches look and see the championship team and say, how did they get it done? How did they manage it? What can we change in our organization? But, you can use the ratio any way you want. The other thing that American players, I think, need to understand is that, and this is just a supply and demand issue, is that when you're developing the Canadians and you're doing it through the ratio, that after that year where they take, that 1 year, I mean, Ray Elgart took a year before he was an all-star, but so did Doug Flutie. There's nuance to our game too that makes it difficult for Americans at times, but I digress there. But, when the American player is sitting in the locker room saying, I'm better than that guy that played at UBC. I'm better than him. How come he's starting and I'm not? And that in 1 year can change dramatically. All of a sudden, UBC is an all-star and there's tremendous respect, mutual respect. And to your point in your story, Jock Climie goes up and, has 1,000-yard season, and a lot of Americans don't. So why is that? If it's that clean and cut and dry that Americans are going to be better, then why don't they? Why aren't they? Because give me Sam Emilus over most of the American receivers in the league. But the other point I wanted to make was those American players also need to understand in the supply and demand business aspect of it that the Canadian ratio helps to bump up salaries. Because once you have very good Canadians that are really making a big impact, 1,000-yard receivers, for instance, you have 1,000-yard Sam Emilus, you want to keep him because there's just not as much supply to go out and replace him and bring in another 1,000-yard guy. So because of the supply and demand issue in Canada and less players playing than the States by 10 times, it bumps up the salary schedule. So that floats all boats a little bit higher. So now the American receiver comes in and said, wait a minute, I got 1,000 yards and Emilus got this paycheck this year in free agency. Why can't I get that kind of money? And now the club has to, because he makes a great point, and that's true. So he does get the extra money. It helps to increase the salaries as much as sort of realistically possible or Canadian budgets, but it helps to float all boats a little bit higher when you have to pay Canadians a little bit more because of the supply and demand issue.
I think Canadians have faced a bit of discrimination in their own league too, haven't they? Like with all the American coaches. Did you? I've often wondered. Like I had this discussion once with George Cortez about the ratio, and he said it's something that we didn't really talk about. He said, honestly, I really don't have an opinion on it. He just seemed like he could take it one way or the other, which I thought was an appropriate response. But does that happen? Have you ever seen that where you've actually seen in the, what did you play, 11 years? 10 years, 11 years, I think.
11 years,
yeah. Do you remember any American teammates complaining about that quietly, like this Canadian is starting over me, or do you think that happens?
Oh yeah, I'm sure it happens. I didn't really hear it. I think once you earn your spot, I mean, anecdotally, for me, there was every training camp, USC, Alabama, Oklahoma, Montana State, on the depth chart behind me as the free safety on the team. And when they first arrived, they probably felt that. They probably looked at my speed compared to theirs or whatever and said, that I'm a better athlete than that guy and he's starting. And as training camp went on, Alabama decided that he was better before the coaches made that decision. And Alabama doesn't learn the playbook. Then he makes 3 or 4 busts in coverage, and then he, gets beat by a Canadian like Jock Climie in the preseason. And the coach says, well, Alabama may look like that, but he may be faster, but he's not taking the time and the passion and the commitment to learn the playbook to make sure he knows everybody's in his role. And so there's a lot to it. There's a lot to making a football team other than who's the fastest. I think they should get rid of in the combines all the testing, to be honest. I think it's irrelevant whether you run a 4.4 or a 4.6. Who cares? By the way,
especially
that's
in your underwear. They do it in their underwear. We don't play the game in our underwear.
We don't play in our underwear. And DBs run 40s and they never start a play, not one, in a 3-point stance, ever.
Right.
And never have. So why waste a whole 6 months on training to be a track guy to go to a combine when you're never going to use it on the field. Anyway, this discussion on the ratio is a good one, and I just think if it's wrong to allow Canadians the opportunity to develop into all-star players on their teams with both American and Canadian players involved. If it's wrong to have a mandated number, I don't want to be right, because if the other aspect of this discussion goes to should we get rid of it completely, and you and I don't believe that, but if it gets to that, we're the XFL, and we all know, and I know there's guys that are listening from the UFL and the XFL, because I watched Twitter right after our hits, and as soon as I mention the spring leagues, they think I hate them, which I don't. I think they're great for players, so let's get that out of there. But I just think you just become that. You become sort of the XFL, or a summer league that is not the NFL in North America, and we all know what happens to those leagues. And hopefully this one stays for a long, long time. But you got to have it. Canadian players are getting better all the time, and there are stars in our league. They are stars. And if you go back and look at the Grey Cups, the last 10 years even, the key plays in those games are often made by Canadians. Tommy Neild caught the winning touchdown in the West Final to take the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Sam Emilus made a huge catch to start that drive. It was about a 25-yarder to start that drive from Trevor Harris to win the Western Final. So often it's a Canadian that makes the big play in the Grey Cup to help their team win.
Yeah, and that's happened a lot of times. I guess my whole point was on I just want to see more Canadian defensive backs get a shot. I think of Catley Joseph, who's a really great defensive back for the U of S, never really got a proper opportunity because it just seemed like, well, we put our Canadians here, but not there. But I do think you raise a good point. I still think it would be a good change, but you raise a really good point. Teams, if they just copycat the teams that are winning, and in this case Saskatchewan, hey, they used 4 O-linemen because they have a Canadian defensive back because of Tavon Campbell, so we need to find another Tavon Campbell and just develop more defensive players. I think be more fair to the defensive players more than anything. Hey, listen, we've got to run. We never have enough time to do this. This is great, and we'll talk again next week.
Yeah, next week, and we got to get into that Toronto discussion. I was listening in, Brendan, with your Toronto discussion on the Argos, and I'd love to bring a half-full version of that discussion.
I'm in on Tuesday. We'll do it then. I can't wait.
Let's do it Tuesday.
I'm glad you're interested. I wasn't sure Arash was at first, so.
I'm in. And good-looking hat, man. I got to get me one of those.
Coach Mace loves this hat in the post-game scrums. He always interrupts himself just to give a shout-out for the hat. So there's an American website that does these. We'll talk later.
Okay. Sounds good. Take care, man.
All right. That is this Thursday press coverage with Glen Suitor. And I went way over there. Sorry, you were going to add? For Freeze Tellman. Oh, and that is for Freeze Tellman. Okay, good. We made it through. Coming up, more of the Sports Cage. You are listening on 620 CKRM.
Hey, Clyde, where are you getting your diesel parts from?
Well, the dealer, of course.
Are you nuts? Smokem Diesel can save you a ton of cash.
Smokem Diesel can supply you with turbos, injectors, injection pumps, anything diesel related. They don't sell junk. Construction, agriculture semi, pickup truck, and all European diesel. Find them on Facebook or call 306-545-5911 for all your diesel needs.
To celebrate CKRM's 100th anniversary, we're honoring the icons who helped shape this station into what it is today. Our next 620 CKRM icon inductee, Jim Smalley. Here's a behind the mic moment with Jim Smalley.
On the farm, my mother liked the rock and roll of CKCK radio, and my stepfather loved country music of CKRM. So we had competing things there. The only time my stepfather would take it off CKRM was at 12:10 every day because CKCK Radio ran a taped report from the weather office giving detailed weather, and he would have to hear that. So I knew how important the weather was to the farmer because there was no weather forecast in the farm show. Get a call from Environment Canada. Jim, we want to put together a forecast for the sprayers, for farmers for spraying, wind forecast. Would you run it? I said, absolutely. I want actually a more detailed weather forecast. That's what I did. I got a detailed weather forecast in the farm show because I knew how important it was.
To hear the full extended interview, visit our 100th year page at 620ckrm.com or sasktoday.ca.
The auction calendar is stacked at Ritchie Brothers, and an exciting Regina auction is happening May 28th. Visit their website or Regina location to view a wide variety of used heavy equipment from top brand manufacturers. You won't want to miss this great opportunity. Head to rbauction.com/Regina to sign up and be ready for the auction. Again, that's rbauction.com/Regina.
Get it hot and get it fast. Western Pizza.
March Madness is here. NHL playoffs, big golf tournaments, and what are you doing? Watching humans chase balls while your stomach cries for mercy. A crust so golden it could win MVP, and toppings piled higher than the coach's stack of playbooks. Pepperoni flying like pucks on ice. Garlic taking a victory lap around your tongue. Western Pizza. Dine in or take out today.
And get it hot and get it fast. Western Pizza.
Bill just called. He said the Thompsons are going already.
Really? Here I am. I'm still deciding if I should replace my openers.
Morning, gentlemen. Looking for Dave. I've got your new openers.
He brought Andrew. Time to listen.
Follow me to the farm. I'll show you how to install them so your field's ready before anyone else.
Don't wait to fall behind. Check your openers and get expert help from Andrew or your local Dutch dealer. Dutch Agriculture. Precision where it counts. Visit DutchOpeners.com. Dutch Agriculture on farm for you.
It's time for the Sports Ticker. Brought to you by Steelcraft Doors Regina. Made in Western Canada for Western Canadians.
Calgary Hitmen trying to finish off a 4-game sweep of the Brandon Wheat Kings tonight. That's the only game happening close to home in the Western Hockey League. Don't forget the Pats play Saturday night in Medicine Hat, trying to keep their season going. Pre-game show with Dante DeCaria at 6:30. Puck drop at 7. If the Pats magically pull it off, I wouldn't put it past them. Game 6 will be at the Brandt Center at 6 o'clock on Sunday night. Junior B hockey happening tonight. The Regina Capitals visiting the Saskatoon Wesleys. 7:45 puck drop. The Wesleys leading that series 2-1, so a big one for the Caps there. And at the TELUS Cup Western Regionals, the Moose Jaw Warriors are on the ice against Winnipeg right now. Later tonight, the Regina Pat Canadians will face the Thunder Bay Kings. Canadian Men's World Curling Championship. Canada plays Norway at 7 o'clock tonight. And that is your sports ticker for Steelcraft Doors Regina, made in Western Canada for Western Canada. Quick reminder, no Friday show because of the Good Friday holiday. We celebrate and observe holidays here at the Sportscage. And as always, Friday Sports Cages are for Nelson Homes, supplying home packages and RTMs for over 65 years. Coming up next, we will hear again from Regina Pats veteran defenseman Ephram McNutt, all about that big game coming up on Saturday night. You are watching and listening to the Sports Cage through 620 CKRM.
Back to our regular spot, Pump Jacks Cathedral.
You know, I thought Pump Jacks was a kind of boot polish till last month.
What are you getting?
Kerwin's crispy ribs and a cold pint of local craft. Crispy, meaty, beautiful.
You had me at meaty.
Plus, we got live music on the weekends, big screens. This place is basically my second marriage.
And way cheaper than the first.
On the corner of Albert and 13th, Pump Jack's Cathedral Saloon and Steakhouse. Come early, stay late. The place where friends meet.
The auction calendar is stacked at Ritchie Brothers, and an exciting Regina auction is happening May 28th. Visit their website or Regina